It's Free Talk Live. Dial on in toll free and join us here on the radio waves. Our number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Also joining you tonight, in the studio, it's Ian.
And Darryl.
And, of course, you can bring up anything that is the point of the show. We've also got Skype at the Skype username LRN.FM, so feel free to join us and bring up whatever it is that you want. That is the point of the show. Now, we do have news that we bring in to discuss that we think you might find interesting. And throughout the weekend, we have been following the very disturbing story that began late Friday where Donald Trump signed an executive order that essentially banned travel from people who were born in and or hail from 7 different countries around the world. Iraq, Iran, Syria, I believe was one of them.
Yemen, not Lebanon, Libya.
Somalia.
Sudan, Somalia.
And so there's updates on this situation. It's been boiling over all weekend long with protests at airports, large numbers of people gathering, protesting at airports because that's where this is happening. People are getting picked up, becoming detained by the federal government when they're just simply trying to come in. And this has included green card holders, although they sort of walked back on that one. Initially, green card holders were included, meaning they were stopped from coming back into the country that they supposedly had legal permission to be in.
Correct.
They were being held up. They were being detained, questioned. Some people were being sent back to where they had come from.
Saw a headline earlier that a family was detained for 20 hours and never given any food.
Wow. That's shocking. In addition to that, we also found out that there was a court hearing, like an emergency court hearing on Saturday, where a federal judge ordered that the Trump order be stayed, meaning that it should not be enforced until there's a further court hearing about it. And then we also further heard that the bureaucrats, the customs enforcement bureaucrats, were ignoring the judge's order. After having been made aware of it, they chose to continue to enforce Donald Trump's executive order.
Sadly.
And so let's see. What else? Did I miss anything in the recap of what has gone on over the weekend?
That seems to be an accurate representation of what we knew heading into the show tonight.
Right. And so, of course, we've learned more since last night. You can join us with anything you want to jump in on. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. Headline from The Washingtonian at washingtonian.com. Despite court order, U.S. officials won't allow lawyers at Dulles to see detainees. The U.S. Customs and Border Protection Agency at Dulles International Airport has refused to grant attorneys access to any detainees that it may be holding, according to Sharifa Abbasi, who's a coordinator who was coordinating the volunteer lawyer efforts underway there. Yesterday, a federal judge for the Eastern District of Virginia ordered respondents, who include the CPB, Customs and Border Protection, President Trump, and the CPB Port Director for Dulles, Wayne Biondi, to, quote, permit lawyers access to all legal permanent residents being detained at Dulles International Airport. So the judge is ordering that they permit access, and again, only to legal permanent residents. So anybody else, sorry, apparently you're screwed.
Right, so legal permanent resident is somebody with a green card.
Abbasi says late Sunday morning a border agent told lawyers that agents have been instructed not to speak with them. About 15 lawyers have been directed to call Steve Sapp, the official with the CPB Office of Public Affairs, but have so far not had their calls answered or returned. Washingtonian called the number, which directed reporters to a cell phone number whose voicemail was full. Abbasi and one other lawyer we spoke to say officials at Dulles have refused to engage with the lawyers since this morning. A border agent who agreed to bring the lawyer's request for access to detainees as well as a copy of the order to her supervisor came back with this message, quote, "It's not going to happen," unquote. Lawyers at Dulles are currently considering motions to hold the government in contempt and compel disclosure of any individuals who are being detained.
So what happens when the government is in contempt of court?
Well, presumably the very executive agents who are in contempt of court would then have to enforce the contempt order against themselves, right?
Right. So I'm wondering here, do the petty little tyrants working for ICE and DHS, do they wind up going to, jail, go directly to jail, don't pass go, don't collect $200?
Who's going to send them there? Is the judge going to get out of his robe and grab some handcuffs?
He'll probably find another petty little tyrant to go, take the first set of petty tyrants to jail. I don't know.
But that's what I'm saying.
Asking.
He has to utilize the executive branch. The judges just make decisions. Those bailiffs, they work for the executive branch.
Do they?
In a lot of cases, they do. It depends, I guess, on. So, for instance,
because
here in
Keene, we've got one set that works for the sheriff's department and another set that's actually hired by the court.
That's true. You're right about that.
So, are the federal bailiffs?
Yeah, I don't know.
Are they under the judicial or the executive branch?
Right. And whoever it is, do the bailiffs want to go up against Donald Trump and whoever it is that's going to stay loyal to him?
Well, they wouldn't be throwing Donald Trump in jail.
He's one of the respondents here.
I know he's one of the respondents, but he's not the person that's standing there in JFK saying, "I'm sorry, Mr. Syrian guy, you can't come in."
Although apparently that guy sounds like Donald Trump. The toll-free number tonight, if you want to join us here, 855-450-FREE. So this sort of continues a discussion that we'd had last night about, what do you do when your government here, and I don't want to have anything to do with them, but they insist on being our government. So, this government that supposedly has checks and balances upon itself, all of it is clearly broken down. It's not working. They're not checking one another appropriately. They're not following each other's rules. You've got an executive branch completely ignoring what the judges have said over now from two different courts. One from New York that ordered them to stay the enforcement of the order, and now further another one saying you need to let lawyers come in and talk to the green card holders, and they're ignoring that as well. So what good is this system again? Can someone remind me of why I'm supposed to be so enamored by the United States government system?
I don't know, but
it's the best in the world.
I do think that all of the employees of the executive branch should take a lesson from Ice Cube and check themselves before they wreck themselves. Because apparently, they're doing a really good job of wrecking themselves here by, basically all being in contempt of court.
Yep, that's some of the latest that we've got here. Darryl, did you have any updates on the airport situation at all?
Yeah, apparently British, and I saw in another story, Canadian authorities have been told that passport holders from those two countries, even if they were originally from one of the 7 countries that Trump has targeted, if the person has a British or Canadian passport, and presumably, any other passport that's part of the Commonwealth realm, which is what they call it, like Australia and Jamaica and everything where they've got the Queen on the money.
Right.
Presumably this applies to all of those countries as well. If they have a passport from that country, they will not be affected by the travel ban in the U.S.
Okay.
UK Foreign Minister, or rather Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson made that announcement as officials around the world sought clarity on the new rules. Johnson was trying to end confusion over the extent of Donald Trump's ban after speaking on Sunday to Trump's son-in-law and senior advisor, Jared Kushner. Johnson released a detailed statement after the discussion saying that only nationals of Syria, Iraq, Iran, Sudan, Somalia, Yemen, and Libya traveling directly to the U.S. from those countries are affected.
So as long as somebody has gotten some paperwork from two of the U.S.'s buddies, Canada and the UK, then they're A-OK.
Presumably.
The toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. And it's worth pointing out that of the 7 nations that have been selected, 0 out of the 7 have been the source of terror strikes. More coming up here. It's Free Talk Live.
Back to the program in a minute, but first I've got a special free giveaway. I've got 100 free trials of the belly-flattening breakthrough new biotics here, and I've been authorized to give them away to the station's first 100 callers right now. So if you want to see what you'd look like with a flatter belly, call now. Don't even wait till I stop talking. Only one free trial per caller, though. Don't be greedy. Okay, here's the number. 1-800-984-5648. I'm guessing it works pretty fast because it says here that if your belly-flattening results are too dramatic, you're supposed to reduce use to every other day. And it looks like it's made from natural ingredients, too, scientifically formulated to cleanse pounds of toxic sludge from your body. Okay, this is it. If you want a flatter belly, be one of the first 100 callers right now to claim one of these free trials. 1-800-984-5648. If lines are busy, try again. 1-800-984-5648. Call now for details. 1-800-984-5648.
Do you trust the economy? How about our banking system? Our president states that we're sitting on a bubble right now, and when the Fed raises interest rates, bad things are going to happen. Well, the Fed is outlining rate hikes here and now. There's never been a better time to turn your IRA into physical gold with GSI Exchange. 800-261-5570. That's 800-261-5570. GSI Exchange can make this happen fast, and it's money you control, not the big banks. 800-261-5570. Ask about our Gold and Silver Investors Guide and learn how your qualified IRA transfers can get you $1,500 in free physical gold or silver delivered right to your home. GSI Exchange has an A-plus rating on the Better Business Bureau, too. Get the security for your money now. Call GSI Exchange at 800-261-5570. 800-261-5570. That's 800-261-5570.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and one with just the Edgington Post. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up at any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
It is Free Talk Live, and of course you can join us here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We do have Skype, and the Skype username is lrn.fm. Tonight with you in the studio, it's Ian.
And Darryl.
Don't forget, you can get interactive over at freetalklive.com, where you can actually create the content right there on the front page of the website. The stuff that you see there over at freetalklive.com was put there by listeners just like you and then voted on also by listeners like you. It's all free. It's a Reddit-based system where you get to submit content like, YouTube videos that you think are interesting or outrageous, or news articles, whatever you think our listeners and the hosts of the show would appreciate. It's a great way to suggest possible things for us to talk about on the air. Of course, the best way to get your ideas on the air is to call in toll-free at 855-450-FREE. The situation in the airports continues to develop, and not for the better. It seems to just keep devolving into governmental chaos, if you will. The government that is supposed to be, checking and balancing one another, keeping everything under control, governing, apparently can't even govern itself. I mean, this is really a perfect example of how failed the United States system is. Of course, we've seen countless examples of governmental failure over the years.
Right.
But this is really a fundamental failure of how the system itself is supposed to work. Sure, government fails whenever it tries anything. It always comes in inefficient. If it tries to build something, it always builds it at 3 times the cost that it should build it. There's all kinds of...
Only 3 times the cost? That's on the low end.
Sure. There's just so much waste and so much just ridiculousness. This is yet another example of how, on one hand, you've got judges saying one thing, that ordering the executive branch to follow their orders, and the executive branch is ignoring those orders. And right now, you've got people's lives that are being caught in the midst of all this, where,
Yes.
as you said, one family has been starved, apparently, for 20-plus hours while in custody at one of these airports. Yes. So that's where we are on this, and the fact that anybody could be out there cheering this on, cheering on the kidnapping of peaceful people who are just simply trying to come here to enjoy a vacation or come here on business or just for whatever reason.
Or trying to return home.
Right, because they were on a vacation or out for business somewhere else, and they're just trying to come back. So again, I don't know if there's much more to say about that. That's pretty much the update.
A little bit more clarification here of what the British Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson was told from the Trump administration.
All right.
Now, whether or not the Trump administration wound up getting this down to the low-level people working for DHS and Border Patrol and ICE is another question. But again, Foreign Secretary Johnson from the UK was told that the executive order only applies to individuals traveling from one of the 7 named countries. If someone is traveling to the U.S. from anywhere else, the executive order allegedly does not apply, and they will not experience any extra checks regardless of nationality or place of birth. Again, this is what the Trump administration told the UK government. They also said that if the person is a UK national who happens to be traveling from one of the named countries, the order does not apply, even if you were born in one of those countries. If you are a dual citizen of one of the countries traveling to the U.S. from outside of those countries, again, the order allegedly does not apply. But again, do the Border Patrol people, do the DHS people,
do they understand all that?
Do they know that? 1, do they know it? 2, do they care? And 3, will they actually follow the rules?
And is there any consequence for them if they don't follow the rules? It seems like there will likely not be much more than a slap on the hand.
Possibly, and this is one of the cases where I wish Melanie actually were here because you know she has gone through the legal training.
She couldn't make it tonight, unfortunately.
But my understanding of somebody filing a civil rights case, it's not enough just that their rights were violated. It's that their rights were violated and the government bureaucrat should have known that it was a violation.
So if it was an accidental violation, then it's okay, bureaucrat.
Yep.
You just made a mistake.
Yep. You goofed up. Sorry. And sorry, Mr. Person that had their rights violated. He didn't really understand that it was violation. Although for you, ignorance of the law is no excuse. It doesn't matter that you didn't know that, whatever you just got convicted of was wrong. For you, ignorance is not an excuse, but for government bureaucrats, they can be ignorant of everything.
Now, I saw a different story related to Donald Trump here in the news today, and a lot of libertarians were passing this one around as though it was really exciting news. And on its face, it does seem like it could mean something. And I'm talking about Donald Trump signing another executive order today that supposedly is going to reduce regulatory burdens in the United States on businesses. Did you hear about this?
Only from you just a couple of minutes ago.
Okay.
But I seem to remember it wasn't that long ago that libertarians and conservatives were not fans of executive orders.
Because it's like outside of the way the system works.
When George Bush was signing executive orders, libertarians weren't really happy about that. Mm-hmm. When Barack Obama was signing executive orders, libertarians weren't happy about that. But for some reason, when a guy that looks like a Cheeto with a bad toupee signs an executive order, then all of a sudden, yay, America.
Well, I've always, I don't know enough about the executive order. As I understand it, it is something that only can affect the way the executive branch operates and probably not, have as much of an effect as a lot of people think that they do.
Right. And, the whole point behind the executive orders was so that, presidents could declare a special holiday without having to convince Congress to wind up, hey, pass this special holiday.
Yeah, so in this case, Reuters is reporting at yahoo.com, President Donald Trump signed an order today that will seek to dramatically pare back federal regulations by requiring agencies to cut 2 regulations that exist for every new rule introduced. Now, again, on its face, that doesn't sound like a terrible idea. And somebody did complain that they would have preferred it be 5 regulations cut for every 1 regulation added. But, it's something that's unusual. I've never heard that before.
So I've actually got more wording of that. Yes,
I've got the whole thing here, too.
It does say, about repeal to blah, blah, blah. But the first sentence, unless prohibited by law, meaning that Congress can just say you're not allowed to repeal stuff.
That's true. And the order itself actually has exemptions in it. We'll get into the details.
Of course it does. Everything had, even the balanced budget amendment that a bunch of conservatives are saying, we need this. It says, except for in times of emergency. And there's basically been a time of emergency since 1933.
Pretty much, yeah. They've never rolled back some of the states of emergency as I understand it. The toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE. So is this all for show?
Yes.
We'll dig further into the supposed small government order here by Trump.
Being self-reliant is about being prepared and to do what you need to have your own source of renewable energy. Portable Solar LLC offers the most powerful EMP-hardened solar system on the market that is transportable from place to place. And the best part, it's very affordable. Contact them at portablesolarllc.com or call for details at 972-575-8875. Sol Arc EMP-hardened solar generator energy insurance for your family or business. Call Portable Solar LLC today or go to portablesolarllc.com to check out their patent-pending technology.
Hunters, anglers, campers, and survivalists. Get back to nature. Expand your horizons with the highest quality, most versatile, unique slingshots and sling bows on the market at slingbow.com. Slingbow products are compact and models start from just $17.98. They're perfect for your bug-out bag or storing in your vehicle. Give yourself and your loved ones the excitement and tradition of slingbow. A new frontier in archery and truly modern twist on this primitive survival tool. Feel the thrill only at slingbow.com.
Money, power, and respect are all yours at CreditSuccessSecretsRevealed.com. Be seen as an industry leader. You can do it. The last application you filled out when it was time to hit submit, did your nerves spike? You didn't get the approval you seek, but there's a better way. We teach you exactly what to place into the right systems the right way the first time so you get approved. Get up to $100,000 in instant business credit. Many people will get cash on the spot. Use those 2 tools in your new corporate credit engine so you can walk into the bank and get your project funded today. It's all about today at CreditSuccessSecretsRevealed.com. Credit Success Secrets Revealed is explosive and ignites instant results. Dial 1-800-707-8719 That's 1-800-707-8719. 1-800-707-8719. Or just go to creditsuccesssecretsrevealed.com.
This is your Roberts & Roberts Brokerage Daily Precious Metals Update. In early trading Monday, gold is $4 higher at $1,196 per ounce, and silver is 9 cents higher at $17.28 per ounce. Bitcoin is currently trading at $919 US, with silver still well under $20 and the silver to gold ratio at 70-1. It's a great time to buy silver. Roberts & Roberts Brokerage, assisting precious metal investors for over 40 years. 800-874-9760, or visit us online at rrbi.co.
Free Talk Live has partnered with Amazon, the largest internet retailer. Imagine a department store category, and Amazon has it. Books, electronics, office products, furniture, jewelry, automotive, toys, clothing, sporting goods, and dozens of other categories. Now you can shop and support Free Talk Live by entering Amazon through our website. Go to shop.freetalklive.com, and Amazon will send us a portion of your purchase. You're going to do the shopping anyway, so remember to enter through our site at shop.freetalklive.com. That's shop.freetalklive.com.
Understanding your credit score is the first step towards managing and improving it. This is Charlie Sundstrom with your Van Dyke Mortgage Minute. The most influential component of your credit score is your payment history. Almost equally as important is the amount you owe on credit accounts. Also impacting your score, but to a lesser degree, are the length of time you've utilized your credit, the number of new accounts, credit inquiries, and your various types of credit accounts. To help achieve or maintain a healthy credit score, have a system set up to assure your bills are always paid on time. Don't max out your cards. It's better to have a high credit limit with a low balance. Never close old accounts. The age of these can actually help your credit score. But don't be afraid to use your credit. You need several accounts in order to have a credit score. Just keep the corresponding payments within your means. For your mortgage pre-approval and refi needs, start by visiting VanDykeMortgage.com.
Corporate NMLS 3035. Van Dyke Mortgage is an equal housing lender. Charlie Sundstrom, NMLS 134251.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
It's Free Talk Live. Dial in toll-free. Join us right here. Take control of the airwaves at 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. And Skype on in at username LRN.FM. Coming up in just about 4 weeks, Free Talk Live will be broadcasting from Anarchapulco. You can go to anarchapulco.com, learn more about the world's foremost conference for voluntarist thinkers and activists. It's held annually in beautiful Acapulco, Mexico, where they'll bring together hundreds of principled anarchists to share ideas on how to live free and escape the clutches of the state and central banks. The unparalleled lineup of speakers will be discussing entrepreneurship, investments, politics, philosophy, health, sustainability, lifestyles, and personal relationships for 4 days among the sun and beaches of a world-class resort. It's happening February 25th through the 28th at the Mundo Imperial Resort and Expo. You can go to anarchapulco.com to line up your tickets. It's not too late. That's anarchapulco.com. And again, we're going to be broadcasting Free Talk Live from the event, so we'll look forward to seeing you there. Here's the excerpt from MSNBC, recorded this morning with Donald Trump and his statement as he's surrounded by what are supposedly business people who support his signing of an executive order that ostensibly will be paring back federal regulations to supposedly benefit business people. We'll dig a little further into what exactly is behind this, but let me give you the audio here from Trump.
Ever cut by far in terms of regulation. These folks are small business owners, and they're great people. They've been representative of the community, the small business community. If you have a regulation you want, number one, we're not going to approve it because it's already been approved probably in 17 different forms. But if we do, the only way you have a chance is we have to knock out 2 regulations for every new regulation. So if there's a new regulation, they have to knock out 2.
Now that sounds like a pretty nice idea. I mean, who's in favor of smaller government would be against the idea of, okay, you want a new regulation? You got to knock out 2.
Okay, so
Sounds like a good idea.
Can we knock out the regulation that takes it so long to actually remove a regulation.
And what do you mean by that?
Well, I've got the article from NPR pulled up, and they say there are about 80,000 pages in the Federal Register where all federal rules are published. But in order to repeal a regulation, a federal agency has to go through the same notice and comment process that is used to create a new regulation that can take up to a year.
Wow.
There is a workaround, however, for newly enacted regulations called the Congressional Review Act. It gives lawmakers the opportunity to repeal regulations approved in the last 60 days of the congressional session. But that, too, is a time-consuming process, and given that the Senate needs to act on Trump's nominations, that being cabinet nominations, it's likely that only a relative few number of regulations could even be repealed in this manner. One is likely to come up this week, however. House leaders say that they will attempt to repeal the stream protection rule, an Obama administration regulation that forbids coal companies from dumping rocks and other debris created by mountaintop removal mining into nearby streams.
According to the story over at Yahoo, the new order does not require the repeal of the two regulations be done simultaneously with the release of the additional rules, according to one of the officials. And I did look at the actual text of the executive order itself, and it does say that in order to propose a new regulation, they do have to identify two regulations that should be removed, but it doesn't necessarily say that they have to be removed first. It just says
that they ever have to be just identify two things.
Right. Yeah, that's what it says.
Good job. And now here's more regulations, and you can just forget that you even identified those.
Right. So again, the intentions of what someone says in politics do very rarely actually, become what the, order or law actually does. Right. So
and then
we see this happening all the time where like judges will interpret a law differently than the bureaucrats interpreted the law, differently than the people who wrote it originally intended it.
Right. And well, I've got a question here. It doesn't specify that the two regulations identified have to be different from previously identified regulations.
Or that they could keep specifying the same two.
Yeah, so all right, here's two regulations that we're good with removing. Just keep pointing to those two.
Also, one thing that's not detailed at all is, well, how do you define a regulation? Is a regulation just like, RSA 239.1
No, that's a statute.
8?
That's a statute.
I'm just giving you an example. I'm just giving you 1:8, like that sentence. Is that a regulation, or is it the entire page, or is it the whole paragraph? Is it the whole book? What is a regulation? And if they're adding one regulation that's 10 paragraphs long, can they remove two regulations that are one sentence long? So I'm sure there's going to be all kinds of games that they'll be able to play with this new ruling.
Right. And again, for clarification, regulations are things that are written by
the bureaucrats.
Where, like almost all of what people call Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, almost all of that was actually written well after they passed it because things kept saying, as the secretary shall describe or define.
So they give power to these bureaucrats to write rules.
The Secretary of Health and Human Services was then given carte blanche to, write a bunch of regulations.
So more from the Trump conference here.
But it goes far beyond that. We're cutting regulations massively for small business and for large business, but they're different, but for small business. And that's what this is about today. And this will be the biggest such act that our country has ever seen. There will be regulation, there will be control, but it will be a normalized control where you can open your business and expand your business very easily.
I don't know what it means where he says there will be normalized control. But, who wouldn't like to be able to just open their business easily and expand their business easily? I mean, that sounds like a nice thing to say. But once again, is he just campaigning here? Because I don't think that, there's anything necessarily in this executive order that's going to guarantee fewer regulations down the road.
A lot of the things, especially dealing with small business and being able to open your business and expand your business, Those are all state regulations.
And local. Yeah, exactly.
No, those are state, municipal, county. Donald Trump can't do anything about, no, Donald Trump says I don't need a business license. I can just open my business and expand. So I'm going to, open up a craft brewery in my backyard because Donald Trump said I can just open business.
Yeah, I'm interested to see a year, 2 years down the road, because you said it takes them like a year at least to get rid of some of these regulations because they have to have a comment period, they have to propose the removal. So I'm interested to see. I hope that there's some think tank who is going to pay close attention to the number of federal regulations like right now, and then a year or 2 years from now to see if they actually do get
reduced. If I had to put money on it, I would say Jim Babka from Downsize DC is probably working on it.
Okay, I hope so. Here's more.
And that's what our country has been all about. Should I sign it?
Sign it.
Yeah, those are all cameras in the background, obviously.
Those are
That's
like
great.
old
That's
school
great.
cameras.
Do you have anything to say to the press, anybody? Would you like to say something to the press? Anybody? Become famous back in Syracuse? Anybody?
Just thank you for doing this, because small business has just been buried in a tidal wave of red tape. And to break that will really change the world for us. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Well, we'll see about that. I'd like to be optimistic, but this is the government we're talking about. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. More about this executive order here. Is it really going to do what they're saying that it will? You can join us, 855-450-FREE. This is Free Talk Live, and Skype in it. Skype username, LRN.FM.
My golden retriever, Sundance, is a lot more playful now. She has more pep and energy.
Tons of energy. Happy the rescue dog is happy the healthy dog.
Petey is having fun again. He's got a shiny coat and a good healthy weight.
Molly's been having 4 scoops a day. She pushes her little bowl all the way across the room, emptying every last single crumb. She has slimmed down and gotten this puppy look.
She's got life. She's got energy.
We get asked all the time when we're at shows, how do you get your dog so healthy and shiny and glossy?
DINOVITE.com.
859-428-1000.
The omega-3 fatty acids.
Flaxseed, zinc, alfalfa.
The digestive enzymes that are cooked out of regular dog food.
Dinovite is nutrition. Just feed your dog right.
Do the Dinovite.
859-428-1000.
859-428-1000. Dinovite for life.
DINOVITE.com.
What would your life be like if you woke up each morning with new vitality, feeling better than you have in years, and you noticed a difference in your sleeping patterns, blood sugar levels, and had a sense of well-being overall? There's something that is changing thousands of people's lives, and you could be one of them. It's called Heart and Body Extract. Sharon Harris, co-creator of Heart and Body Extract, talks about the positive effects of Heart and Body Extract.
What happens with the formula Heart and Body Extract is it's giving the body the necessary vitamins, minerals, amino acids, enzymes, and phytonutrients so the body will heal itself. And yes, the body does have the ability to balance blood pressure, balance cholesterol, clean and unclog the arteries. It can also work on balancing the circulation for diabetics. So the body is an amazing thing. It simply needs some help so it has the tools to heal itself.
Heart and Body Extract gets results. To order your 2-month supply, call now, toll free at 866-295-5305. Order online at hbextract.com.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
The three most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share one episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. It's my firm belief that Free Talk Live's AMP program is the best use of your charitable dollar among liberty-oriented organizations. Support all the organizations you love, but make sure you give $5 a month to AMP at amp.freetalklive.com. For Bitcoin to be ubiquitous, people need to use it. For people to use it, they must have it. How can we get Bitcoin into more hands? Tipping. What if you could include a bonus Bitcoin tip along with your regular tip to a server? What if that Bitcoin tip returned to you if unclaimed after 30 days? An attractive business card Bitcoin tip that's easily claimed, gives instructions on wallets and spending, and returns to the tipper if unused. Tip.freetalklive.com. Tip.freetalklive.com.
While our satellite channel is free to listen to, it's not free for us. You can help us cover our satellite costs with the chip-in on the right side of the page at lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. Dial on in toll-free and join us right here. Our number is 855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733. Trump proposing this executive order that a lot of people are crowing about online today, saying he's going to cut 2 regulations, or that he's going to demand the federal bureaucracies cut 2 regulations for every new regulation they want to add.
Shall identify.
Right. Well, there's what he's saying is different from what it says in the actual executive order. So there's what he said at the press conference this morning. There's what the news is saying about it, because they're just believing, what he said at the press conference. I bet very few of the news media are actually taking a close look at the wording of this executive order. Section 1, the purpose, says it is the policy of the executive branch to be prudent and financially responsible in the expenditure of funds from both public and private sources.
When did that start?
Apparently just now.
Because I don't see how you get to be $19 trillion in debt by being prudent
right.
And what was financially responsible?
Yeah. Well, yeah, maybe they're trying to turn things around there, Darryl, which, of course, a lot of people would say, give him a chance. Give him a chance. Got to be skeptical. You got to be skeptical of these government guys. Just because, he's Donald Trump and he's a little different, acts different from your typical politician, doesn't mean that he's not, or that doesn't mean that he really is that different. So, So take everything with a grain of salt, double check the claims. And so let me continue here. In addition to the management of the direct expenditure of taxpayer dollars through the budgeting process, it is essential to manage the costs associated with the governmental imposition of private expenditures required to comply with federal regulations. Toward that end, it is important for every one new regulation issued, at least 2 prior regulations be identified for elimination, and that the cost of planned regulations be prudently managed and controlled through a budgeting process. So it says that they should be identified, at least 2, should be identified for elimination. So that sounds like they have the intention of eliminating those regulations, but it doesn't actually say that they should be eliminated or when they need to be eliminated. It's not clear with that language.
And can I just go off on a tangent here for a moment? Has anybody else noticed that the White House website has become some sort of weird clickbait site?
No, I don't spend any time there.
Well, I just tried following a link to the executive order, and it took me to a page. Put your email address here to subscribe. I don't want to subscribe, so I clicked the go to website, and instead of taking me to the page that I wanted to go to, it took me to the front page. So then I had to close that, go to the other thing, and re-click the link, and then it took me directly where I wanted to go.
Well, it's not uncommon for government websites to be unwieldy and broken. So
right, but this is an unwieldy, broken thing that just happened. Like, it happened when Donald Trump took it. He turned the website into clickbait.
If you go through the rest of this press release here, or the actual text of the regulation, it does talk about that they do need to be totaling up the cost of all of their regulations, and that the heads of the agencies are directed to that the total incremental cost of all new regulations, including repealed regulations, to be finalized this year shall be no greater than zero. So the claim here is that whatever it is that they end up doing should not increase the cost of regulatory burden or the cost of enforcement.
Hold on. Finish the sentence. Unless otherwise required by law or consistent with the advice provided in writing by the Director of the Office of Management and Budget. So
Correct.
It should equal zero unless we tell you that it doesn't have to equal zero, in which case carry on.
Right, and then later there's more exemptions for this. So again, the idea is one new regulation proposed, they're supposed to identify 2 to be cut. Well, that doesn't even apply to regulations issued with respect to a military, national security, or foreign affairs function of the United States, regulations related to agency, organization, management, or personnel, or any other category of regulations exempted by the director. So the director of OMB, Office Management Budget, or whatever it is, he can just arbitrarily decide based on political favoritism or whatever. So, some bureaucrat comes to him and says, please, you got to exempt my department from this rule. And then, okay, fine. What can you do for me? Scratch my back or whatever. So who knows if this will even really have any effect whatsoever on the federal government and their amount of regulations. I understand why people are excited. I get it. It sounds good on its face, but like a lot of things with government, the devil's in the details.
Right, and the Bill of Rights sounds good, after the first 5 words, Congress shall make no law, and then there's a bunch of other stuff, and then, they just do whatever the hell they want to.
Right. So, if you are so jazzed up about this and you're buying into it, just take a chill pill and wait and see what happens. The thing with Trump is one of the reasons why he's such a brilliant politician, in my opinion, is he sounds so different, but yet when you start digging in, it really isn't that different. He sounds different
because he uses short sentences. They're the best sentences, and they all have words, but they're very short. He speaks on like that 5th grade level or whatever it is. So you asked, how do they define regulation? Well, his executive order here defines regulation.
Okay.
For the purpose of this order, the term regulation or rule means an agency statement of general or particular applicability and future effect designed to implement, interpret, or prescribe law or policy, or to describe the procedure or practice requirement of an agency, but does not include regulations
I don't understand
issued.
that. That's just a bunch of words to me.
Basically, something that's written down that was not passed by Congress.
Well, I mean, that is kind of what a regulation is, but it doesn't specify how long the regulation is. So again, if they can just cut out 2 sentences and then add a huge paragraph, then that's not going to solve any problems. It's not going to do what he's intending.
Right, but again, he's not saying that they actually have to repeal anything, just identify it.
Right. It's not clear when or if these identified regulations will actually be repealed. Now, there is that specification in there that basically it should zero out, but as you already pointed out, there are exemptions to that. So there's so many different exemptions in here that people should not be surprised if, at the end of 2017, there are more federal regulations. And even if the federal bureaucracies are like, all right, well, we're just not going to do anything. Well, then you get all the regulations on the books and nothing gets removed, right? Because this only removes regulations if new ones are proposed. So even if this does what he intends it to do, and that is, and I'm skeptical that it will, but let's just presume that it will, that every new regulation proposed, they have to remove 2. Well, if they propose no new regulations, which again wouldn't be a bad thing, but if they propose nothing new, you still have the tens of thousands of existing pages. This does nothing on its own by itself to remove regulations from the books.
And if they don't remove anything, let's say that they pass another 5,000 pages worth of regulations and they don't actually remove anything, well, The final subsection of the executive order says this order is not intended to and does not create any right or benefit, substantive or procedural, enforceable at law or in equity by any party against the United States, its departments, agencies, or entities. Blah, blah, blah.
It says you can't sue them over it.
Right. So we can do whatever we want, and you can't do anything, nanny, nanny, boo-boo.
The toll-free number tonight is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. So again, color me skeptical of all of this. I think what you're going to end up seeing here is, a greater police state. We're already seeing that now with earlier that we were talking about the airports where they're detaining peaceful people who are just trying to come in here. One of the photos that the Washingtonian shows a man with a machine gun, some federal agent-looking character, standing in an airport with a machine gun, and there's protesters behind him. I mean, it's a crazy situation that we're already in here 2 weeks into the Trump administration. There have been some good things that have been proposed, like repealing the subsidies for NPR and for public radio. If that actually happens, great. But so far, it hasn't actually happened.
Right.
So, be sure to cheer on things that are actually occurring and not just the sort of the propaganda that Trump is putting out there to make him seem different. That is what he's succeeding at. Is he's saying all these things like, we're going to slash the regulations to help business. Who could be against that? Well, if they actually do it, great. But I want to see the proof in the pudding. Not promises, because we're still just getting promises at this point. An executive order filled with exemptions is not going to make the government smaller.
Right.
The toll-free number here, 855-450-FREE. And, of course, you can join us here. What lessons can we learn about Trump from Hugo Chavez? Coming up, Free Talk Live. What do you shop for that you could otherwise buy at Amazon? Pretty much everything, right? Amazon has competitive pricing and they deliver, and that's a big plus. If you could plan ahead in your shopping, would you be interested in saving up to 33%? There's a catch. You have to do your shopping in Bitcoin. But imagine those savings. It's like a huge raise. All you have to do is go to saveatpurse.com. We've saved thousands, and you can too. Plan ahead and save. Saveatpurse.com. Do you need a website for your blog or new business? It can be pretty intimidating on your own, and that's why Free Talk Live has partnered with HostGator, one of the top hosting companies. HostGator offers a simple one-click, easy installation for WordPress, 24/7 over the phone or live chat tech support, and a very intuitive, user-friendly control panel that puts the power of creation back into your hands. Go to HostGator.com/FTL, and you'll get 50% off of their regular hosting prices. 50% off. HostGator.com/FTL.
We've all heard about blockchain assets like Dogecoin, Ether, and Ripple. Bitcoin isn't the only player in the blockchain game any longer. And for those of us wondering how to get our hands on these digital assets, finally, there's a solution. Shapeshift.io allows you to buy and sell between your digital assets and Bitcoin instantly between your own digital wallets. I've used it with ease. Shapeshift.io. There's no account or email address needed. You send them the crypto you want to sell. They send back the crypto you want to buy. It's that easy. Shapeshift.io.
Did you know you can watch Free Talk Live during our live show 7 days a week from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern via our studio cams at cam.freetalklive.com? Plus, you can chat with other listeners while you watch, all totally free. Now that our live video stream is hosted by YouTube, our video archives will be online even faster. So be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Listen, watch, and chat all free at cam.freetalklive.com. That's cam.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Darryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Monday, January 30th, 2017. Silver is trading at $17.15 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,193 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at 2.4 cents, and the average price of Bitcoin is $922. Antiwar.com reports among a series of executive orders signed by President Trump over the past week, one of his Saturday orders included calling for the Pentagon to deliver a comprehensive strategy and plan for the defeat of the Islamic State. Previous reports suggested the Pentagon was already working on this. If those previous reports are to be believed, the plan is centering heavily on the idea of escalating the war with more ground troops expected to be deployed, more attack helicopters, and in all likelihood a further loosening of rules of engagement. While officials were consistently insisting the war was going well under President Obama, President Trump is said to want a much quicker result in the fight against the Islamic State, which is almost certain to mean a transition away from the Obama-era tactic of escalation of a few hundred troops at a time, which mostly avoided public debate over the size of the ground forces. During the campaign, Trump insisted that he was open to a deployment of 20,000 to 30,000 troops to take out Raqqa, the capital city of the Islamic State. It is unclear if the Pentagon planning will include anything nearly so dramatic, but putting such a large force inside Syrian territory would be difficult, especially without the tacit permission of the Syrian government and their allies. Are you an advocate for free market money? Do you promote Bitcoin as an alternative in a fiat-centric world? Then you need Spend-A-Bit in your arsenal, the search engine for things you can buy with Bitcoin. Spend-A-Bit aggregates millions of products from thousands of Bitcoin-enabled merchants. Keep your money in the free economy. Visit spendabit.co today. Bitcoin merchants, ask about our merchant suite to reach even more customers. Spendabit.co. UPI reports Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is weighing in on President Donald Trump's executive order regarding the temporary suspension of visa applications for migrants from 7 Muslim-majority countries. Trump last week took action to ban the entry of people from countries such as Iran, Syria, Libya, and Iraq, while his administration develops a more thorough vetting process. Trudeau tweeted on Saturday, "To those fleeing persecution, terror, and war, Canadians will welcome you regardless of your faith. Diversity is our strength. #welcome to Canada." The Prime Minister also issued a longer statement on Twitter explaining how Trump's recent actions will impact Canadians. Trudeau said senior officials have been working to seek clarity for Canadians from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security and U.S. Department of Transportation, amongst other counterparts. I will instruct our National Security Advisor, Daniel Jean, who is in touch over the course of the day with NSA Flynn, to seek further clarification. NSA Flynn confirmed that holders of Canadian passports, including dual citizens, will not be affected by the ban. We have been assured that Canadians traveling on Canadian passports will be dealt with in the usual process. As we receive new information, we will continue to share on this and other channels. Trudeau's remarks regarding the new controversial immigration policy for the United States came a day after Canadian leaders said they are preparing to increase international aid for women's health programs in the wake of Trump's move to cut $600 million in funding over his administration's opposition to abortion. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. Reuters reports the Federal Aviation Administration on Sunday said all domestic Delta airline flights were grounded after a request from the company due to an automation issue. The FAA issued an advisory stating the problem affected all Delta mainline and subsidiary carriers to domestic destinations, but international flights would not be affected. The company said in a statement, Delta teams are expeditiously working to fix a system outage that has resulted in departure delays for flights on the ground, adding flights in the air remain unaffected. Delta apologizes to customers for the inconvenience. Several passengers took to Twitter to express their dismay, with some saying they had to wait for hours before being told of the problem. Last week, United Airlines said it had to ground all domestic flights due to an IT issue. This has been FPP Radio News. Online at fppradio.com.
After briefly reviewing several documents outlining his parents' dire financial circumstances today, 23-year-old Wesleyan University graduate Zach Wallace told reporters he had, quote, absolutely no clue how his mother and father are going to dig themselves out of the $35,000 of student loan debt they incurred to pay for his college education.
I mean, this is going to be really hard on my parents. When I was in college, I just assumed that, they would pay off my student loans within a few years of me graduating. But I never realized how expensive college is going to be for them.
Wallace, who graduated with a film studies degree in 2012 and has since had 2 unpaid internships, told reporters that from the way prevailing interest rates are trending, his parents could easily be paying off his debt for the next quarter century.
They're going to be paying for the rest of their lives. And on top of it all, they have to help me out with my rent, too. I mean, it sucks. It really, really sucks.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. We're launching into the second hour of the program, and you can take control of the airwaves here. Bring up whatever's on your mind. We're going to go in a bit of a more international direction tonight. Darryl, coming up, you've got a interesting, shocking update coming out of the Philippines. We've been following that situation with the election of their Donald Trump, Rodrigo Duterte, this last summer. So the summer of 2016, this guy took over and just decided to ramp up the war on drugs with an instant death penalty in the streets for anybody believed to be using or selling drugs, and it has resulted in a body count in the thousands after just a matter of months. So you've got an update on that story. That's still to come here on Free Talk Live tonight. As I said, Ian and Darryl in the studio. Our toll-free number, if you want to join us to bring up anything that's on your mind, is 855-450-FREE. We've also got Skype, and the Skype username here is LRN.FM. In the last hour, we talked about Donald Trump's executive orders. Some are very excited by these executive orders. You've got one that is restricting travel from people from 7 countries around the world. That has sparked protests at airports. Lawyers are being denied access to green card holders who've been detained. The government executive branch is ignoring the orders of judges. One order saying to stay. The order that Donald Trump made on Friday, which was banning these people from the 7 countries, that order is being ignored by Customs. And then another order also being ignored. The other order is to allow the detainees who are green card holders to have access to attorneys who are willing to help them. But the Customs agents are also ignoring that court order. So you've got a situation where your own government is basically broken down, and the whole checks and balance thing ain't really working very well. Plus, then there's Donald Trump with his, again, I'm not sure how to really even describe this sort of campaign-like promise. He's already been elected. He's been, sworn into office, but, talking about repealing regulations, signing an executive order that makes it seem, at least, to the media, that he's doing this. But the reality of the order, the text of the order, is that it doesn't really seem to repeal any regulations. It says that they need to identify regulations to be removed if they want to add another regulation.
And then there's the whole exemption for military, national security, and foreign affairs.
And the exemption for any other exemptions the director would like to make. So that's the one you can push a double-decker bus through. So let's go and look a little bit further at Donald Trump from the perspective of someone from Venezuela. Now, again, Venezuela we've been kind of covering here over the years and watching as they've devolved into a socialist hell where crime is rampant. You can't defend yourself. You can't own a gun to defend yourself down there. The inflation is so insane that, basically you have to carry around stacks of the Bolivar in order to actually successfully buy something as simple as a dinner.
Stacks of Bolivar that I have in my hand.
And you've actually,
anybody watching the webcam,
you've actually purchased Bolivar from someone in Venezuela, which that person committed a crime by sending that to you. So they very surreptitiously packaged it to make it so the Customs did not determine what was inside it.
They sent me documents.
Donald Trump, according to the author here at the Washington Post, this is Andres Miguel Rondon, who is an economist living in Madrid. He is a Venezuelan citizen who was born and raised there. The headline of this, by the way, is "In Venezuela, we couldn't stop Chavez. Don't make the same mistakes that we did." This is all about Donald Trump, how to let a populist beat you over and over again. Donald Trump is an avowed capitalist. Hugo Chavez was a socialist with communist dreams. One builds skyscrapers, the other expropriated them. But politics is only one half policy. The other, darker half, is rhetoric. Sometimes the rhetoric takes over. Such has been our lot in Venezuela for the past 2 decades, and such is yours now, Americans, because in one regard, Trump and Chavez are identical. They are both masters of populism. The recipe for populism is universal. Find a wound common to many. Find someone to blame for it. Immigrants, anyone? Terrorists?
Bueller.
And
Bueller.
Make up a good story to tell. Mix it all together. Tell the wounded you know how they feel. That you found the bad guys.
That's how Bill Clinton wound up getting elected. I feel your pain.
That's right. It's a story as old as time here. But it's important to remind people about this, and I think this is an interesting juxtaposition. Label them, the minorities, the politicians, the businessmen. Caricature them as vermin, evil masterminds, haters, and losers. You name it. Then paint yourself as the savior. Capture the people's imagination. Forget about policies and plans. Just enrapture them with a tale. One that starts with anger and ends in vengeance. A vengeance that they can participate in. And that's how it becomes a movement. There's something soothing in all that anger. Populism is built on the irresistible allure of simplicity. As you were talking about earlier, Donald Trump speaks in very simple terms, speaks at a 5th grade or 7th grade level. Keep it simple. He says that populism is built on the irresistible allure of simplicity, the narcotic of the simple answer to an intractable question. The problem is now made simple. The problem is you. How do I know, he asks? Because I grew up as the you that Trump is about to turn you into. In Venezuela, the urban middle class that I come from was cast as the enemy in the political struggle that followed Chavez's arrival in 1998.
Hold on, the middle class was the enemy.
That's what he's saying here.
That's interesting because generally it's the rich that is painted as the enemy for socialist and communist.
Well, the middle class are richer than the poor. I don't know. He was there, so I'm going to take his word for it.
Right. I'm not questioning what he's saying.
Right.
I'm just a little surprised by it, unless maybe they didn't have an upper class. But if you don't have an upper class, then you can't have a middle class. It's like when you go to a restaurant and you're like, give me a medium. They're like, we don't have a medium. Mm-hmm. We have large, regular, and grande.
Right.
Well, one of those is the thing in the middle.
He says, for years I watched in frustration as the opposition failed to do anything about the catastrophe overtaking our nation. Only later did I realize that this failure was self-inflicted. So now, to my American friends, here is some advice on how to avoid Venezuela's mistakes. Populism can survive only amid polarization. It works through the unending vilification of a cartoonish enemy. Never forget that you're the enemy. Trump needs you to be the enemy, just like all religions need a demon, a scapegoat. But facts, you'll say, missing the point entirely. What makes you the enemy? It's very simple to a populist. If you're not a victim, you're the culprit. During the 2007 student-led protests against the government's closure of RCTV, the second biggest TV channel in Venezuela, Chavez continually went on air to frame us students as, quote, pups of the American empire, supporters of the enemy of the country, unquote. Spoiled, unpatriotic babies who only wanted to watch soap operas. Using our socioeconomic background as his main accusation, he sought to frame us as the direct inheritors of the mostly imagined oligarchs of our father's generation. The students who supported Chavismo were the children of the homeland, the sons of the people, the future of the country. Not for one moment did the government's analysis go beyond such cartoons. The problem is not the message, but the messenger, and if you don't realize this, you'll be wasting your time. Don't feed polarization, disarm it. This means leaving the theater of injured decency behind. And that includes rebukes of such as the one the Hamilton cast gave Vice President-elect Mike Pence shortly after the election. You remember the story about Mike Pence going to a Broadway show and them actually speaking out after the show was over on stage. He says here in the story, while sincere, it only antagonized Trump. It surely didn't convince a single Trump supporter to change his or her mind. Shaming has never been an effective method of persuasion. He's got some more advice for those of us here who are under a rule of a populist. And, what were things like in Venezuela? What sort of lessons can be learned from populist socialist compared to this populist, whatever you want to call him? Fascist? Socialist? I don't know. Statist?
Probably statist works.
855-450 free. You can share your thoughts as well on Free Talk Live.
A funny thing happens when you don't advertise. Nothing. Modern advertisers have been trained to look for trackability in their advertising, and web search ads are great for that. They also help you get the consumer that's looking for products like yours in the moment. But they're expensive, and they do nothing to convince people to try your product segment in the first place. If you're a local advertiser, contact this station. If you can use national exposure, Free Talk Live's on more than 150 stations, and we can help advertisers with little budgets and big ones. Send me an email, mark@freetalklive.com. It's mark@freetalklive.com.
Do you need a website for your blog or new business? It can be pretty intimidating on your own, and that's why Free Talk Live has partnered with HostGator, one of the top hosting companies. HostGator offers a simple one-click, easy installation for WordPress, 24/7 over-the-phone or live chat tech support, and a very intuitive, user-friendly control panel that puts the power of creation back into your hands. Go to HostGator.com/FTL, and you'll get 50% off of their regular hosting prices. 50% off. HostGator.com/FTL.
Do you trust the economy? How about our banking system? Our president states that we're sitting on a bubble right now, and when the Fed raises interest rates, bad things are going to happen. Well, the Fed is outlining rate hikes here and now. There's never been a better time to turn your IRA into physical gold with GSI Exchange. 800-261-5570. That's 800-261-5570. GSI Exchange can make this happen fast, and it's money you control, not the big banks. 800-261-5570. Ask about our Gold and Silver Investors Guide and learn how your qualified IRA transfers can get you $1,500 in free physical gold or silver delivered right to your home. GSI Exchange has an A+ rating on the Better Business Bureau, too. Get the security for your money now. Call GSI Exchange at 800-261-5570. 800-261-5570. That's 800-261-5570.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Teens radio show. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgoristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agorist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers, and some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agorist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any tomfoolery. So go with AgoristHosting.com. And if you want to get your foot in the door with decentralized marketplaces, Agorist Hosting is now offering Open Bazaar hosting. Go to AgoristHosting.com. Click on the button that says Get Hosted. Agorist Hosting. That's AGORIST hosting.com.
For years, LRN.FM has had a listen line that you can call and listen to LRN.FM anytime. Now we're taking the idea to a new level with the LRN.FM audio on demand line. You can call 641-793-9660 anytime and listen to LRN.FM's live feed, and you can listen to a bunch of our original shows on demand. Long distance fees may apply. Just dial 641-793-9660 and choose from the menu. 641-793-9660.
There's no better app for tracking the value of cryptocurrencies than CoinCap. I've had a lot of apps for tracking Bitcoin, but none that's ever been able to track 500 digital assets at once. Their best feature is the Altfolio. I love this thing. You enter how many Bitcoins, Ether, Dash, Doge, or whatever else you have, and it tells you how much your crypto is worth. You can watch yourself get rich. If you have crypto, go right now to coincap.io, or you can use the Apple Store or Google Play to get the app. I love CoinCap. coincap.io.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
It is Free Talk Live. You're invited to join us here if you want to comment on the populism of Donald Trump. We're in the middle of an interesting piece from the Washington Post by a man who was actually born in Venezuela. He's now living in Madrid. But he went through the rise of Hugo Chavez, who was also a populist, just with a different message. We'll continue with that here. Also want to let you know about MyPillow, and Darryl has a MyPillow as well as me. We've had them since early 2016, and it's a great pillow. It's designed to fit to the shape of your body and hold your neck in the proper position. It also is washable. We had a listener have her cat barf on her MyPillow that she'd gotten because she was listening to Free Talk Live, I believe, and she just put it in the washer.
Well, the cat didn't barf because she was listening to Free Talk Live.
I hope
found
not.
out.
I mean, I suppose the show could be upsetting to felines, but yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't do anything to the studio cat.
He's cool. He's just chilling. No, sometimes cats will barf because they're mad at you, though. They will,
Yes.
barf on your pillow for that. So who knows what she did to deserve it. But at the very least, it was easy to clean up because MyPillow, you can actually put it in your washer and the dryer, and it's designed for that, unlike probably any other pillow you've ever owned. So go and try it out. You actually got a 60-day window where you can get your money back if you don't think it's the best pillow you've ever used. So again, you get your purchase price back within 60 days. Go to MyPillow.com, use code FTL, that's FTL like Free Talk Live, and get one MyPillow at half price or two for the price of one. It's up to you how many pillows you get. Over at MyPillow.com, there's also a 10-year warranty on the product itself. MyPillow.com with code FTL like Free Talk Live. So, back to the story here from the Washington Post, looking at the populism of Donald Trump. And they're saying here, or the author rather, is Andres Rondon. He's saying that it doesn't convince to shame people. That it didn't, the shaming that went on the stage at the Hamilton performance in New York when Mike Pence was in the audience right around the election. He says didn't convince a single Trump supporter to change his or her mind, and shaming has never been an effective method of persuasion. The Venezuelan opposition struggled for years to get this. We wouldn't stop pontificating about how stupid Chavismo was, not only to international friends, but also to Chavez's electoral base. Really? This guy? Are you nuts? You must be nuts, we would say. Well, the subtext was clear. Look, idiots, he'll destroy the country. And he did. He's blatantly siding with the bad guys, Fidel Castro, Vladimir Putin, the white supremacists, or the guerrillas. He's not that smart. He's threatening to destroy the economy. He has no respect for democracy or for the experts who work hard and know how to do business. Of course, he's talking about Chavez there because it'll get hard to discern, I think, the difference between Chavez and Trump in some of these cases.
Well, it definitely applies to both.
Right. I heard so many variations of these comments growing up that my political awakening was set off by the tectonic realization that Chavez, however evil, was not actually stupid. And neither is Trump. Getting to the highest office in the world requires not only sheer force of will, but also great calculated rhetorical precision, the kind only a few political geniuses are born with, and one he flamboyantly brandishes. Trump said late in the campaign, quote, "We are in a rigged system, and a big part of the rigging is there are dishonest people in the media." Now, he said this late in the campaign when he was sounding the most like Chavez. Quote, "Isn't it amazing they don't even want to look at you folks?" Unquote. According to Trump, the natural conclusion is all too clear. Turn off the TV. Just listen to me. The constant boos at his rallies only confirmed as much. By looking down on Trump's supporters, you've lost the first battle. Instead of fighting polarization, you've played into it. The worst you can do is bundle moderates and extremists together and think that America is divided between racists and liberals. That's the textbook definition of polarization. We thought our country was split between treacherous oligarchs and Chavez's uneducated, gullible base. The only one who benefited was Chavez. Our opposition tried every single trick in the book. Coup d'etat? Check. Ruinous oil strike? Check. Boycotting elections in hopes that international observers would intervene? You guessed it. Look, opponents were desperate. We were right to be.
Boycotting elections, that sounds like a large segment of people that we know. Well, if everybody just didn't vote, then the government would just go away.
You're talking about the anarchists?
The quote-unquote principled non-voting anarchists that say that if nobody votes, the government just goes away, that your vote, even though you might write in none of the above or vote for somebody that doesn't win, just your simple act of touching a ballot is the sole reason that Barack Obama was able to drone people.
Ridiculous. Look, opponents were desperate. We were right to be. But a hissy fit is not a strategy. The people on the other side, and crucially independents, will rebel against you if you look like you're losing your mind. You will have proved yourself to be the very thing you're claiming to be fighting against, an enemy of democracy. And all the while, you're giving the populist and his followers enough rhetorical fuel to rightly call you a saboteur, an unpatriotic schemer, for years to come. Now, we are enemies of democracy here on Free Talk Live.
Yes.
There's no doubt about it. Obviously, he's not writing to libertarians here. He's writing to the people who oppose Trump, who likely would mostly identify as liberals or folks on the left.
People that claim to support democracy. And I just want to clarify, when you say that we're opponents of democracy, the reason that, at least why I oppose democracy, and I think you do as well, the whole concept of a plurality of people getting to enforce their will on the majority is a really bad system for making decisions.
It's an anti-freedom system.
And some people might say, it's not a plurality, it's a majority. It needs 51% of the voters. Well, no, it doesn't. That's only if there's only two options.
Right.
And secondarily, a majority of people rarely show up to cast a ballot. Well,
correct.
A majority of registered voters rarely show up to cast a ballot,
right.
which is
Not
different
everybody.
from a majority of the people.
Yep.
So
the majority doesn't bother.
Even if you have a majority of a majority of a majority, that's still a plurality, meaning that there's a minority of people that are forcing their will on the majority of people. And somebody said, well, we're not a direct democracy, we're a republic. Okay, so you're admitting it's an even smaller plurality of people. So it's the people that get elected to go to Concord or Mount Pillier or Montgomery or Carson City or Washington, D.C., and then they make decisions that affect everybody in the state except for them, for the most part.
Whether you agree or not, whether you consent or not, you're going to be part of this system.
Right. So a republic is even worse than a democracy. And before people start saying, well, republics have constitutions and there are rights that are wrecked. Well, one, how's that working out here?
Right.
Two, Korea, North Korea, that is, specifically.
It's also a republic.
It's a republic.
China is a republic.
North Korea, they've got a lot of really good stuff written in their constitution. They recognize the freedom to travel, even though
there you go. You can't
nobody
leave.
can. Well, people aren't even allowed to travel within North Korea without government permission.
That's true.
So there's all this, great and wonderful stuff that's written in there. They don't actually get those rights recognized.
Our toll-free number, if you want to join us, 855-450-FREE. More about populism, Donald Trump compared to Hugo Chavez, what lessons can be learned from what has happened in the past. Because if you don't pay attention to the past and history, then you're doomed to repeat it, right? 855-450-FREE. It's Free Talk Live.
Taking turmeric is good, but there's a problem with it. The active ingredient in turmeric, known as curcumin, is poorly absorbed into the cells due to its large particle size. But now, One Planet Nutrition has the answer for this powerful anti-inflammatory. Nanocurcumin, a nanoparticle curcumin which absorbs over 40 times better into your bloodstream. Discover more health benefits of nanocurcumin and nanocurcumin plus, now on sale at oneplanetnutrition.com. Use promo code GCN for your special discount at oneplanetnutrition.com.
Why be held hostage by your wireless carrier for 2 years? What if there were no contracts, no activation fees, no tracking, tracing, or draconian gimmicks, all on America's largest 4G LTE networks? Introducing PixWireless.com. Activate your Sprint, AT&T, and unlock GSM phones instantly. Bring your own device and make the switch today. Here's how. Call or click 1-800-205-9513 or PixWireless.com. Spelled P-I-X. PixWireless.com.
Hi, have you heard about Bitcoin? Not Bitcoin, but Bipcoin. Bravo, India, Papa, Coin. Bipcoin is a new cryptocurrency that you can start mining today for free on ordinary computers. Unlike most altcoins, Bipcoin is not a clone of Bitcoin. Bipcoin is based on entirely new, more recent, and better code called CryptoNote. So unlike Bitcoin, Bipcoin has truly untraceable transactions, and we're working on adding distributed DNS functionality to Bipcoin. We're calling this .bip, and it will provide uncensorable domain names in an easy-to-use interface. Unlike previous systems attempting this, .bip will be simple for both a website owner and for people viewing websites. This will get it the worldwide adoption we need to keep speech free, and cyber squatting will not be a problem. Please help out with a donation or just share this with your friends. If you can't chip in some cash or Bitcoin to save free speech around the world, because there are incoming regimes that hate honest criticism. Go to bipcoin.org. Once again, that's Bravo, India, Papa, coin.org.
This is your Roberts & Roberts Brokerage Daily Precious Metals Update. In early trading Monday, gold is $4 higher at $1,196 per ounce, and silver is 9 cents higher at $17.28 per ounce. Bitcoin is currently trading at $919 US, with silver still well under $20, and the silver to gold ratio at 70 to 1. It's a great time to buy silver. Roberts & Roberts Brokerage, assisting precious metal investors for over 40 years. 800-874-9760, or visit us online at rrbi.co.
The three most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share one episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. You likely buy all kinds of things online. Amazon is the largest online retailer. You can get what you need at the same prices with free Super Saver shipping by going to shop.freetalklive.com. Please do your online shopping at shop.freetalklive.com.
Attention CPAP users. Stop the insanity and torture of your CPAP mask. Don't you hate the skin irritation and terrible leaks? Jump on the CPAP Pro train, invented by an actual CPAP user that became so frustrated with CPAP masks. Are you ready to try something new? With absolutely no straps or headgear? Go to nomask.com and get the best night's sleep ever. Free to Medicare patients. Go to nomask.com. That's NOMASK.com.
If your home has hard water, then it's likely that limescale is clogging your pipes, damaging your appliances, costing you hundreds of dollars each year. You can eliminate limescale in the entire house with HydroCare products available at Wave Home Solutions. Easy and efficient with no maintenance, no salts, no chemicals, and no coils. And you can buy with confidence from Wave Home Solutions. Performance guaranteed. Just go to bestwater411.com. That's bestwater411.com.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
It is Free Talk Live. You can dial toll-free here, bring up anything you want. Our number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Tonight, it's Ian.
And Darryl.
And also, if you've been thinking about starting up a website, then how about 50% off to make it more possible for you to get your butt in gear and get to it. Get to it here. Here we are in the 21st century, 2017. It's time you got a website, or maybe you've already got a site. You're looking to move it. You're sick and tired of your current host, and you want to upgrade. Well, HostGator is one of the top hosting companies out there with a 99.99% uptime rating, and they've got a special offer for you because you're a Free Talk Live listener. You get 50% off. That's 50% off by using this URL to enter their site. It's hostgator.com/FTL. That's hostgator.com/FTL, like Free Talk Live. And that gets you the awesome discount. Plus, it also gets you HostGator. They've got a simple one-click, easy installation for WordPress, 24/7 over the phone or live chat tech support, and a very intuitive and user-friendly control panel that puts the power of creation and the simplicity of use into your hands. They're there for you. HostGator.com/FTL. Get that 50% off for Free Talk Live listeners like you. HostGator.com/FTL. As we continue here, a story from the Washington Post. Interesting opinion piece by a man who was born and raised in Venezuela and who was the enemy that was attacked by Hugo Chavez and his supporters. He's not a bad person or anything like that. He's just the target of the political populist who was elected there. And he's talking about lessons that he learned and that they learned in trying to oppose Chavez and failing at every turn. He says that you can't show contempt, that if you rebuke these people, that you're not going to change their minds, you're not going to persuade them to think in a different manner. So don't lower yourself to Trump's level by insulting other people.
Right. So most of the time what's going to wind up happening is they're just going to, dig in their heels and stand their ground because, well, if they're opposing me, then it must be because I'm right.
Right. And it also says don't try to force him out. They said when they were trying, they tried a coup d'etat. That didn't work. Ruinous oil strike. That didn't work. Boycotting elections. That didn't work. He says, look, opponents were desperate and we were right to be, but a hissy fit's not a strategy. He says the people on the other side, and crucially the independents, will rebel against you if you look like you're losing your mind. You'll have proved to be the very thing you're claiming to be fighting against. And I think this is also appropriate and an important thing to remember for those people who believe they're going to somehow take down the government with violence, which is a discussion we've had on this show many times, because there are a lot of people within the liberty movement who, they collect a bunch of guns and they're arming up for that one day when all this violence is supposed to happen, and then we'll somehow overthrow the government and have liberty after that. But what we've seen, of course, happening in reality is that when people get violent towards the government, whether it's the guy with the tank that he built, what was it called, the killdozer,
right?
Or whether it be some so-called sovereign citizen popping out of his van and shooting at some cops, whatever the incident happens to be, all it ends up doing is justifying the government's violence against us.
Right.
It justifies in people's minds why they need the state, because the state, the government, wants you to believe that they're necessary for protecting you. And when somebody goes off and starts shooting at state agents, or shooting, even worse, at innocent people, or blowing them up, then that's just yet another quiver or an arrow in their quiver that they get to use as an excuse to continue to expand the state. So be careful you don't play into their narrative. All right. Going on, though. He says, and all the while, you're giving the populist and his followers enough rhetorical fuel to rightly call you a saboteur, an unpatriotic schemer for years to come. To a big chunk of the population, the Venezuelan opposition is still that spoiled, unpatriotic schemer. It sapped the opposition's effectiveness for the years when we would need it most. Clearly, the United States has much stronger institutions and a fairer balance of powers than Venezuela. Even out of power, Democrats have no apparent desire to try anything like a coup, which is good. Attempting to force Trump out rather than digging in to fight his agenda would just distract the public from whatever failed policies the administration is making. In Venezuela, the opposition focused on trying to reject the dictator by any means possible, when we should have just kept pointing out how badly Chavez's rule was hurting the very people he claimed to be serving.
Right, but I could see how even if you do that, there's going to be the people that just say, well, you're just not looking at it from the right perspective.
Well, obviously you can't persuade everybody. But he's just saying one tactic versus another tactic. He believes that the tactics they chose were the wrong ones, trying to vilify and trying to oust rather than pointing out, what's actually happening. And pointing out when the government hurts the people they intend to help, I think is a persuasive thing to some people.
To some people, but then there's the people that, they just believe that government can do no wrong, and so they refuse to see it.
Well, sure, but you can't persuade everybody. I mean, that's just not a possibility. So the question is, what is the most persuasive path? Is it to shout and scream and insult, or is it to, put out the facts of here's what's happening? Oh, you think you're better off today? Well, Trump said he was going to repeal regulations. Well, they haven't been repealed. Just kind of put the information out there.
Maybe I'm just, because here in the U.S., we live in this weird binary thing of it's either Republican or Democrat, to where when you do point out that, hey, look, this guy's screwing stuff up. Oh, okay, so I should vote for the other party. No, they're screwing stuff up again. Well, what are you suggesting I do? Go live in the middle of the woods and just kill myself? But, at least in, most of the rest of the world, people have more than two political choices. And this is something that just drives me batty whenever I, try to explain these things. People say, well, Duverger's law. Well, that law seems to only apply in the U.S.
I'm not familiar with it.
Duverger's law is the claim that given multiple choices, people will automatically go to a binary of it's either A or B. It doesn't matter that we've got C, D, E, F, and G as options. It's either A or B. But politically, that only applies in the United States. Every other developed country has multiple political parties in their legislative offices.
That's true.
So, the whole claim of we can't have fair ballot access because then just nobody's going to wind up voting for the Libertarians or the Greens anyway because Duverger's law, so therefore let's just, make the restrictions difficult and keep them off the ballot anyway. Well, we're protecting you from losing an election.
Well, at least here in New Hampshire,
you should be happy.
Voters will have the chance to vote for Libertarians coming up in 2018 because we did actually get on the ballot.
Yes, thanks to some really horrible mainstream candidates and people looking for an alternative.
Let's go to your calls and thoughts. A little more about Trump coming up here from the Venezuelan experience. But first, Mike is in Ohio. You're on Free Talk Live, watching us on YouTube at cam.freetalklive.com. Go ahead, Mike.
Thanks, Ian. So the worst part of all of this is the fact that the guys that I really enjoyed reading, Lou Rockwell, and I'm not necessarily killing Lou Rockwell here because he does still post some pretty good stuff. He doesn't. They don't have anything rebuking Trump stuff. The only person that really is like a high level guy is Ron Paul. Ron Paul is all over this. His Muslim deal, he's all over the trade embargoes. Like Ron Paul, and here's what's so crazy is that we were told 5 years ago Ron Paul was kind of like what out of the realm, wasn't mainstream enough, but yet Donald Trump is. Like honestly, the quote unquote radical stuff Ron Paul would have done wouldn't have offended people.
I'm glad to hear that Ron Paul is still out there. I know that they used to publish him at Lou Rockwell. Where do you find his stuff nowadays?
Probably the Ron Paul Institute.
Yeah, I follow him on Twitter. He's like 82 years old. I mean, God bless the guy, and he's not perfect, but he's like 82 years old.
He's about the best thing you got in Washington, D.C., although I realize he's no longer there. But hang on, Mike. If you got more to say about Trump, you're welcome to 855-450-FREE. Join us on Free Talk Live.
A funny thing happens when you don't advertise. Nothing. Modern advertisers have been trained to look for trackability in their advertising, and web search ads are great for that. They also help you get the consumer that's looking for products like yours in the moment. But they're expensive, and they do nothing to convince people to try your product segment in the first place. If you're a local advertiser, contact this station. If you can use national exposure, Free Talk Live's on more than 150 stations, and we can help advertisers with little budgets and big ones. Send me an email, mark@freetalklive.com. It's mark@freetalklive.com.
DVD, books, music, instruments, periodicals, computers, software, electronics, photo, cell phone, office products, home and garden, bed and bath, furniture, kitchen, pet supplies, automotive, hardware, apparel, shoes, jewelry, grocery, healthcare, sports and outdoors, toys, games, used, and more. It's a department store at your fingertips. Shop.freetalklive.com. Get all your shopping done, get a great deal, and a portion of your purchase goes to benefit Free Talk Live when you enter Amazon via shop.freetalklive.com.
Good day, America. Are you tired of your butt cheeks being frozen? Tired of cold hands or cold feet? I'm tired of the cold. Well, there's a new kid on the block. It's Fortress Clothing. Fortress will keep you warm. Fortress does what no other clothing company has ever done. We keep you warm in the cold, even when wet. You heard that right, even when wet. No BS, no gimmicks. Work, play, sweat in the cold, and stay warm. So quit your complaining and go to fortressclothing.com. Fortressclothing.com, enter coupon code AMERICA and get 20% off any item. Mittens, jackets, pants, balaclavas, or hot socks. Fortressclothing.com, enter coupon code AMERICA. You're going to love being warm all winter long. Fortressclothing.com.
While getting drinks after work with a group of coworkers, local shipping clerk Russell Chambliss told reporters Wednesday night he was unsure whether he was bonding with his male associates or being mercilessly bullied by them.
I'm pretty sure that Bill called me limp dick earlier, and Todd keeps punching me in the shoulder. Pretty hard, too. I can't tell if it's their way of letting me feel like I'm part of the group or making me feel bad about myself.
Chambliss said while his coworkers verbally demeaned him and even made him feel physically threatened at various points in the evening, they did so with large smiles on their faces, making it extremely unclear if his coworkers enjoyed his company or wanted him to leave the bar.
Well, I told Jeff about this problem that I was having with my girlfriend, and he called me a pussy and then walked away. But then, like 5 minutes later, he came back with a beer that he had bought for me. What does that even mean? Apparently I'm invited over to Todd's house for dinner this weekend. I guess that'll be fun.
For more on this story, keep checking theonion.com.
This is the Onion News Network.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com. You can get emailed announcements and participate in contests via our email updates list. Plus, we have a Twitter account that you can follow and a Facebook page where you can become a fan. So visit news.freetalklive.com to get news about Free Talk Live as soon as it's announced and the way you want it delivered at news.freetalklive.com. That's news.freetalklive.com.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
Hey, it's Free Talk Live. You're invited to join us right here if you want. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE, as we have been. For the last week or so, we're talking Trump. And the guy's worth commenting about, for better or for worse. And so far, it's been for worse. He's been doing some pretty bad stuff. We're going to continue here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. There's been some talk about some better stuff, like cutting the NPR and PBS. But again, that hasn't actually occurred yet. There's been talk about
I'm not going to hold my breath.
I wouldn't either. There's been talk about a regulation reduction. But the executive order itself exempts all manner of different things from this supposed order, and it doesn't even require the removal of the regulations. It only requires identifying them for removal.
And it doesn't say anything about you can't identify something that's previously been identified.
So, yeah, there's all kinds of loopholes in this thing, and it wouldn't surprise me if at the end of this year there wasn't at all a single reduction in the federal regulations. So let's go back to Mike. He's in Ohio. And by the way, you can join us over at freetalklive.com. Enjoy the website there, completely free. And if you like what we're doing on Free Talk Live, then please support the show for as little as $5 a month with the AMP program at amp.freetalklive.com. AMP stands for Advertise, Market, and Promote. It's $5 a month from you. That's the price of one of those grandes you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
A cup of coffee, some fancy cup of coffee somewhere.
Frappy mocha latte chino.
And you can get behind the show. And then we will get more radio stations on board airing Free Talk Live, spreading the ideas of liberty in a country where they are very seldom heard, with the exception of Ron Paul. on the national level, there are very, very few options to get messages like ours. And Free Talk Live is one of those ways, so you can get behind the show and get perks like access to the AMP-only call-in lines, AMP-only podcast, and AMP-only Facebook group by joining the AMP program with any major credit card through PayPal, Visa, MasterCard, American Express, or Bitcoin right over there at amp.freetalklive.com, ampamp.freetalklive.com. Mike's back with us in Ohio. Go ahead, sir.
I don't have much. I'll just tell you this. I try to be objective with Trump relative to, what he does. I think him trying to make it where people who don't abide by Obamacare, him doing that his first day, telling the agency, we'll see how it's implemented, to not enforce it, hard, to use all means necessary to make it as lenient as possible. I think that's a good thing towards freedom, because people shouldn't have to buy a product and so forth. But I listen a lot on Saturday nights and the weekends. I don't want to call because usually, new people can call in who haven't heard the show. And one thing that somebody said this past weekend that was so true, because I do a lot of traveling for work, at least a good bit, and you travel across the country. And it doesn't matter what city you go to. There's like 3 or 4 talk show radio guys that literally are on like in the same time slots all day. And all they do is it's either Republican or Democrat. And right now they're all pro-Trump. And let me tell you something. I don't even think they're like free traders anymore, because some of those same guys are like, well, it's a good thing if we show up Mexico, we're not going to let them come in here and take our jobs.
When were they ever free traders? I mean, people on the radio, if they support the Republicans and Democrats, then they've supported for many years various different trade restrictions.
Well, the claim is, or at least the claim was back in the 90s when NAFTA and CAFTA were being negotiated, is this is going to be free trade throughout North and Central America. NAFTA, North American free trade.
It says free trade in it. So
It's got the word free trade in the title, and it's free trade between the U.S. and Canada and Mexico, and then CAFTA is free trade between the U.S. and Central America. And then there was GATT, I forget, the Global Something Trade Treaty. And those are all free. No, those are regulated trade.
That's right.
That somebody is telling you is free trade, just like this BS from Donald Trump. We're going to repeal 2 things for each one we pass. No, you're not. You're going to identify 2 things that could just be the same 2 things that get repeatedly identified. Even if you do take action on repealing anything, it takes up to a year to actually repeal anything, because it goes through the same process as implementing something.
Let's see the proof in the pudding here.
And then after the comment period and whatever else, they could just decide, we're not actually going to go ahead and repeal this because people told us that the sky's going to fall if we do.
Mike, any other thoughts you want to share?
I agree. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for the call tonight, man. I appreciate hearing from you. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. So back to the story to wrap up from the Washington Post, article written by Andres Rondon. He is an economist living in Madrid, originally from Venezuela. He lived through the rise of Hugo Chavez and is comparing the opposition to Chavez to the opposition to Donald Trump, and saying, look, we got it wrong. The stuff that we did to oppose Chavez just didn't do anything to harm him. So he's recommending show no contempt, that shaming people is not an effective method of persuading. He says, don't try to force him out. We tried every trick in the book, he says, in Venezuela, and ultimately it just made us look like we were the enemies of democracy, the enemies of the status quo. And he says, all the while, you're giving the populist and his followers enough rhetorical fuel to rightly call you saboteurs, unpatriotic schemers for years to come. He says, finally, find a counter-argument, and no, not the one you think. Don't waste your time trying to prove that this grand idea is better than that one. Ditch all the big words. The problem, remember, is not the message, but the messenger. It's not that Trump supporters are too stupid to see right from wrong. It's that you're more valuable to them as an enemy than as a compatriot. Your challenge is to prove that you belong in the same tribe as them, that you are an American in exactly the same way they are. In Venezuela, we fell into this trap in a bad way. We wrote again and again about principles, about separation of powers, civil liberties, the role of the military in politics, corruption, and economic policy. But it took opposition leaders 10 years to figure out that they actually needed to go to the slums and the countryside, not for a speech or a rally, but for a game of dominoes or to dance salsa, to show that they were Venezuelans too, that they weren't just dour scolds who could hit a baseball and could tell a joke that they weren't just dour scolds and could hit a baseball and could tell a joke that landed, that they could break the tribal divide, come down off the billboards and show that they were real. This is not populism by other means. It is the only way of establishing your standing. It's deciding not to live in an echo chamber, to press pause on the siren song of polarization. Because if the music keeps going, yes, you will see neighbors deported and friends of different creeds and sexual orientations living in fear and anxiety, your country's economic inequality deepening along the way. But something worse could happen. In Venezuela, whole generations were split in two. A shared sense of culture was wiped out. Rhetoric took over our history books, our future, our own sense of self. We lost the freedom to be anything larger than cartoons.
I'm a little confused by what he's saying at the end. Because I understand the whole thing of, don't show the person that you're their enemy. But if you stop at any point trying to, persuade them of here's the things that are wrong, then basically it just sounds like he's saying blend in and shut up.
I can see how you could interpret it that way. And from what I'm reading here, I don't know if he's saying shut up, but just that someone is more likely to listen to you if you can somehow connect with that person rather than just being the opposition. Now, that's not necessarily an easy thing to do. Right, but so many people, once you do say something, they're going to be, so you're one of them.
You're one of them.
Yeah.
And then they're just going to shut you out anyway.
Yeah.
So it honestly sounds like he's just saying, shut up and live your life.
He says, finally, this does not have to be your fate. You can be different. Recognize that you're the enemy Trump requires. Show concern, not contempt, for the wounds of those who brought him to power. By all means, be patient with democracy and struggle relentlessly to free yourself from the shackles of the caricature the populists have drawn of you. It's a tall order, but the alternative is worse. Trust me. So I think it's an interesting, piece. I'm not reading it just because I necessarily agree with it. I just thought it was interesting to have the perspective of somebody who went through the rise of a populist socialist, comparing, what is happening here and what has happened here. Obviously you're right, Darryl. There's no perfect solution. I mean, if you're not going to, a lot of people aren't going to be willing to go out and buddy up with some of the people that support Donald Trump because some of them are quite frankly, really distasteful.
Right, and I've already, on Facebook had numerous people say that I should be thrown out of a helicopter. Why do I want to hang out with people that want to throw me out of a helicopter?
The toll-free number tonight, 855-450-FREE. Well, of course, that's why one of the reasons we think secession is such a good idea is to get people of a like mind together. That way you can outnumber the people who are, statists. And that's kind of what we're doing here in New Hampshire.
Right.
I think that's a different approach, but I understand where this guy's coming from. It is frustrating to try to oppose this situation, especially when he's so popular. More coming up. And I don't know where our commercials are, so we'll just keep on talking here. There's supposed to be some...
Sheba is a 105 lean pounds of happy dog for life because she gets fed Dynavite and Lico Chops.
Order a 90-day supply of Dynavite for your dog this week.
We'll send you a bottle of Lico Chops free.
New improved Lico Chops with omega-6, omega-3, vitamin E.
And now 6 extra direct-fed microbials.
Even better for the digestive tract and immune system.
Try Lico Chops.
Free this week at Dynavite.com.
DINOVITE.com.
This is Ed Lukasevic.
And Cindy Lukasevic at Dynavite.
This year, whenever you order a 90-day supply of Dynavite for your dog, we'll send you a free sample of one of the other doggy things we make.
Like Lico Chops, Super Mega Fish Oil, or Doggo Suds Shampoo.
What's on your dog's wish list?
We'll offer a different freebie each week at Dynavite.com.
Radio is the most personal of mediums. I exist right now in your head. If you listen to Free Talk Live regularly, you know me. Free Talk Live is on more than 160 radio stations around the U.S. and has been downloaded on every continent around the world. Hundreds of thousands of listeners with ad packages from $600 a month to $6,000 a month. Imagine what we can do for your business, project, website, or idea. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com. Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that tenth of a calorie it takes to click on something. facebook.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Darryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Monday, January 30th, 2017. Silver is trading at $17.15 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,193 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at 2.4 cents, and the average price of Bitcoin is $922. Antiwar.com reports among a series of executive orders signed by President Trump over the past week, one of his Saturday orders included calling for the Pentagon to deliver a comprehensive strategy and plan for the defeat of the Islamic State. Previous reports suggested the Pentagon was already working on this. If those previous reports are to be believed, the plan is centering heavily on the idea of escalating the war with more ground troops expected to be deployed, more attack helicopters, and in all likelihood a further loosening of rules of engagement. While officials were consistently insisting the war was going well under President Obama, President Trump is said to want a much quicker result in the fight against the Islamic State, which is almost certain to mean a transition away from the Obama-era tactic of escalation of a few hundred troops at a time, which mostly avoided public debate over the size of the ground forces. During the campaign, Trump insisted that he was open to a deployment of 20,000 to 30,000 troops to take out Raqqa, the capital city of the Islamic State. It is unclear if the Pentagon planning will include anything nearly so dramatic, but putting such a large force inside Syrian territory would be difficult, especially without the tacit permission of the Syrian government and their allies. Are you an advocate for free market money? Do you promote Bitcoin as an alternative in a fiat-centric world? Then you need Spend-A-Bit in your arsenal, the search engine for things you can buy with Bitcoin. Spend-A-Bit aggregates millions of products from thousands of Bitcoin-enabled merchants. Keep your money in the free economy. Visit spendabit.co today. Bitcoin merchants, ask about our merchant suite to reach even more customers. Spendabit.co. UPI reports Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is weighing in on President Donald Trump's executive order regarding the temporary suspension of visa applications for migrants from 7 Muslim-majority countries. Trump last week took action to ban the entry of people from countries such as Iran, Syria, Libya, and Iraq, while his administration develops a more thorough vetting process. Trudeau tweeted on Saturday, "To those fleeing persecution, terror, and war, Canadians will welcome you regardless of your faith. Diversity is our strength. #welcome to Canada." The Prime Minister also issued a longer statement on Twitter explaining how Trump's recent actions will impact Canadians. Trudeau said senior officials have been working to seek clarity for Canadians from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security and U.S. Department of Transportation, amongst other counterparts. I will instruct our National Security Advisor, Daniel Jean, who is in touch over the course of the day with NSA Flynn, to seek further clarification. NSA Flynn confirmed that holders of Canadian passports, including dual citizens, will not be affected by the ban. We have been assured that Canadians traveling on Canadian passports will be dealt with in the usual process. As we receive new information, we will continue to share on this and other channels. Trudeau's remarks regarding the new controversial immigration policy for the United States came a day after Canadian leaders said they are preparing to increase international aid for women's health programs in the wake of Trump's move to cut $600 million in funding over his administration's opposition to abortion. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. Reuters reports the Federal Aviation Administration on Sunday said all domestic Delta airline flights were grounded after a request from the company due to an automation issue. The FAA issued an advisory stating the problem affected all Delta mainline and subsidiary carriers to domestic destinations, but international flights would not be affected. The company said in a statement, Delta teams are expeditiously working to fix a system outage that has resulted in departure delays for flights on the ground, adding flights in the air remain unaffected. Delta apologizes to customers for the inconvenience. Several passengers took to Twitter to express their dismay, with some saying they had to wait for hours before being told of the problem. Last week, United Airlines said it had to ground all domestic flights due to an IT issue. This has been FPP Radio News. Online at fppradio.com.
In a survey, nearly 100% of boys ages 12 to 15 report that they have sex all the time and are definitely not virgins. Teens say they've gone all the way on numerous occasions, including vaginal sex, oral sex, and regular sex orgies.
Previous studies suggested that most boys lose their virginity at 16 or 17. But when we gathered 13-year-olds in a room and asked them if they'd had sex, they not only said yes, but they also were clear that sex was no big deal for them, that they weren't nervous before having it, and that when they do have sex, they do it for hours at a time.
And you discovered that these young teenagers have sex with nearly every attractive woman they know, including their babysitters, teachers, and even Hollywood celebrities.
10% of boys in junior high school say they received a blowjob from Katy Perry while they were on vacation in Los Angeles.
And what about teenage girls? Did your study find out anything new about their sexual habits?
We didn't talk to any teenage girls. The boys we surveyed told us not to because they'd probably just lie and deny it.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live, Hour 3. As we launch into it, you can take control of the airwaves and bring up anything that you want. Our number is 855-450-FREE. Joining you in the studio tonight, it's Ian.
And Darryl.
That's 855-450-3733. We've got Skype as well. The Skype username is LRN.FM. Well, turns out that old Donald Trump is continuing some of the policies of Barack Obama.
Who'd have thunk it?
Well, we would have, but namely bombing innocent children. That policy is being continued.
Yes, it is. And not just any innocent child, but the 8-year-old sister of the 16-year-old that Barack Obama drone bombed about 6 years ago.
So they're going after the whole family then, basically.
Seems like it. The story comes from The Intercept. In 2010, President Obama directed the CIA to assassinate an American citizen in Yemen, Anwar al-Awlaki.
I remember that name.
Despite the fact that he had never been charged with, let alone convicted of any criminal offense.
Yeah, this was a pretty scary news story when we talked about that.
And the agency successfully carried out the order a year later with a drone strike in September 2011. While that assassination created widespread debate, the once again beloved ACLU sued Obama to restrain him from the assassination on the ground of due process, and then when that suit was dismissed, sued Obama again after the killing was carried out. Another drone killing carried out shortly thereafter was perhaps even more significant, yet generated relatively little attention. 2 weeks after the killing of Anwar al-Awlaki, a separate drone strike in Yemen killed his 16-year-old American-born son, Abdul Rahman, along with the boy's 17-year-old cousin and several other innocent Yemenis. The U.S. eventually claimed that the boy was not their target, but merely collateral damage. Abdul Rahman's grief-stricken grandfather, Nasir, urged the Washington Post to visit a Facebook memorial page for Abdul Rahman, which explained, look at his pictures, his friends, and his hobbies. His Facebook page shows a typical kid. Few events pulled the mask off Obama officials like this one. It highlighted how the Obama administration was ravaging Yemen, one of the world's poorest countries, just weeks after he won the Nobel Prize
for peace.
Obama used cluster bombs that killed 35 Yemeni women and children. Even Obama-supporting liberal comedians mocked the DOJ's arguments for why it had the right to execute Americans with no charge. Stephen Colbert snarked, due process just means there's a process that you do. And the firestorm erupted when former Obama press secretary Robert Gibbs offered a sociopathic justification for killing the Colorado-born teenager, apparently blaming him for his own killing by saying he, quote, should have had a more responsible father.
Wow.
Again,
that's cold.
His father, someone who was never charged with, let alone convicted of a crime.
Yeah, how are we supposed to know anything about this man? He's never been, held up to any kind of public scrutiny.
Right. Again, due process means there's a process that you do. The U.S. assault on Yemeni civilians.
That process apparently is just dropping a bomb.
Yes.
Yeah.
The U.S. assault on Yemeni civilians not only continued, but radically escalated over the next 5 years through the end of the Obama presidency, as the U.S. and U.K. armed, supported, and provided crucial assistance to their close ally Saudi Arabia as it devastated Yemen through a criminally reckless bombing campaign. Yemen now faces mass starvation, seemingly exacerbated deliberately by the U.S. and UK-supported air attacks. And something not mentioned here is the blockade being carried out by Saudi Arabia.
Oh, boy.
Yemen is a country that imports 90% of all of their food.
Oof.
Because it's a desert, they can't really produce things.
Right.
Because of the...
And Saudi Arabia is now preventing food from being delivered there.
And medical aid and pretty much everything else, because they're claiming that allowing things to be imported into Yemen is assisting with the terrorists.
Oh, boy.
Because of the direct responsibility of the West.
So if they starve the whole country, they'll get the terrorists, is the idea.
That seems to be part of the claim here.
It's insane.
Yeah. The article from The Intercept continues, because of the direct responsibility of the West for these atrocities, they've received vanishingly little attention in the responsible countries. In a hideous symbol of the bipartisan continuity of U.S. barbarism, Nasir al-Awlaki just lost another one of his young grandchildren to U.S. violence. On Sunday, the Navy's SEAL Team 6, using Reaper drones for cover, carried out a commando raid on what it said was a compound harboring officials of al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula. A statement issued by President Trump lamented the death of an American service member and several others who were wounded, but no mention of any civilian deaths. U.S. military officials initially denied any civilian deaths, and therefore the CNN report on the raid said nothing about any civilians being killed. But reports from Yemen quickly surfaced that 30 people were killed, including 10 women and children. Among the dead, the 8-year-old granddaughter of Nasir al-Awlaki, Nawar, who was also the daughter of Anwar al-Awlaki, and the sister of Rabdu al-Man. The author here is Glenn Greenwald. He continues, as noted by my colleague Jeremy Scahill, who extensively interviewed the grandparents in Yemen for his book and film on Obama's Dirty Wars, the girl was shot in the neck and killed, bleeding to death over the course of 2 hours.
Okay, so you were wrong. It wasn't a drone bombing. They had drones involved in the operation, but she was actually shot by a presumable Navy SEAL.
Yes. The grandfather asked, why kill children? This is the new administration. It's a very sad, big crime. The New York Times reported that military officials had been planning and debating the raid for months under the Obama administration, but Obama officials decided to leave the choice to Trump. The new president personally authorized the attack last week.
Oh, wow.
They claim the main target of the raid was, quote, computer materials inside the house that could contain clues about future terrorist plots, end quote. The paper cited a Yemeni official saying at least 8 women and 7 children between the ages of 3 and 13 had been killed in the raid, and that the attack also severely damaged a school, a health facility, and a mosque. Matthew Cole, another colleague of Greenwald's, reported in great detail just weeks ago that Navy SEAL Team 6, for all its public glory, has a long history of revenge operations, unjustified killings, mutilations, and other atrocities.
Oh, I bet.
And Trump notoriously vowed during the campaign to target not only terrorists but also their families. All of that demands aggressive, independent inquiries into the operation. Perhaps.
Well, good thing The Intercept's out there, because they do really good, detailed reporting on this stuff.
Perhaps the most tragic of all of this, just as was true in Iraq, Al-Qaeda had very little presence in Yemen before the Obama administration began bombing and droning it and killing civilians, thus driving people into the arms of the militant
Wait a minute.
group.
Are you saying that bombing a place would actually recruit people to the terrorists?
That's not what I'm saying. That's what the terrorists themselves actually say. After, what was it, the wedding back in 2012, 2013?
The one that got bombed?
That got droned?
Yeah.
There was one of the people who lost family in there that said, every time you kill our people, you just wind up causing more people to want to fight against you.
Right.
So the terrorists themselves are saying, when you kill our women and children, all you're doing is encouraging us to fight.
Right, and it is possible that those women and children that were killed in this strike were opposing the SEAL team that was coming in there. I mean, to some level, it's possible that they were raising weapons and, intending to defend themselves against these attackers.
Possible, very unlikely, but possible.
I mean, if you were a woman, wouldn't you want to defend your kids from being shot to death by, some
I'm just saying there's no
marauders?
evidence that they even had weapons to defend themselves.
That's true. There's no evidence. That's all I'm saying. It's a possibility. Toll-free number here, 855-450-FREE. And, of course, had the SEALs not gone in, then those people would still be alive. What do you shop for that you could otherwise buy at Amazon? Pretty much everything, right? Amazon has competitive pricing and they deliver, and that's a big plus. If you could plan ahead in your shopping, would you be interested in saving up to 33%? There's a catch. You have to do your shopping in Bitcoin. But imagine those savings. It's like a huge raise. All you have to do is go to saveitpurse.com. We've saved thousands, and you can too. Plan ahead and save. Saveitpurse.com. Do you need a website for your blog or new business? It can be pretty intimidating on your own, and that's why Free Talk Live has partnered with HostGator, one of the top hosting companies. HostGator offers a simple one-click, easy installation for WordPress, 24/7 over-the-phone or live chat tech support, and a very intuitive, user-friendly control panel that puts the power of creation back into your hands. Go to HostGator.com/FTL, and you'll get 50% off of their regular hosting prices. 50% off. HostGator.com/FTL.
Do you trust the economy? How about our banking system? Our president states that we're sitting on a bubble right now, and when the Fed raises interest rates, bad things are going to happen. Well, the Fed is outlining rate hikes here and now. There's never been a better time to turn your IRA into physical gold with GSI Exchange. 800-261-5570. That's 800-261-5570. GSI Exchange can make this happen fast, and it's money you control, not the big banks. 800-261-5570. Ask about our Gold and Silver Investors Guide and learn how your qualified IRA transfers can get you $1,500 in free physical gold or silver delivered right to your home. GSI Exchange has an A+ rating on the Better Business Bureau, too. Get the security for your money now. Call GSI Exchange at 800-261-5570. 800-261-5570. That's 800-261-5570.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippies! Jesus. On your knees! What's the
problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you got to keep you and your gat intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Vadadi.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
This Your Family Today tip is brought to you by Boost Kid Essentials Nutritionally Complete Drink, providing your picky eater with essential nutrition and great taste in one drink. Visit us at kidessentials.com. To make sure your kids eat healthy, follow the 5-a-day plan. Serve 3 servings of vegetables and 2 servings of fruit daily. Remember, a serving could just mean a piece of fruit or a half cup of veggies. If your kids are picky eaters, ask a nutritionist about other sources. For more tips like these, visit us at parenthood.com/yourfamilytoday.
You can connect with the Liberty Radio Network via our Facebook page at facebook.lrn.fm. That's facebook.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. And, of course, you can join us here if you want. The toll-free number, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. You want to help out Free Talk Live? Then get your shopping done with us. You go to shop.freetalklive.com and enter Amazon through the links you'll find there. There's Amazon US, Amazon UK, and Amazon Canada. Just go into the right Amazon for you and get your shopping taken care of. And the stuff that you get will get a cut of the purchase price when you start your shopping through shop.freetalklive.com. Darryl, you are telling us what is probably the most depressing story of the evening, but one that probably should be told just to bring people up to speed. You may recall Anwar al-Awlaki, I believe was his name.
Yes.
The American-born citizen who was killed by the Obama administration without any kind of trial or due process whatsoever. He was just ordered assassinated.
Correct.
There was a later bombing raid that ended up killing his 16-year-old son.
Yes, Abdul Rahman.
And now, in the Trump administration, within the first 2 weeks of that administration, Donald Trump has continued the policy of killing innocent children all around the globe and has managed to exterminate the 8-year-old sister of the 16-year-old young man.
Correct. And as was mentioned here, Al-Qaeda was not present in Yemen until after the U.S. started bombing and raiding the country.
Which allowed them to recruit effectively because all they had to do was say, well, do you want to help us oppose the, these murderers, the people who killed your children, the people who destroyed your town, or do you want to stand there and do nothing?
Right. And as the late young Yemeni writer Ibrahim Muthana told Congress back in 2013, drone strikes are causing more Yemenis to hate America and join radical militants.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, liberal voices in the United States are largely ignoring, if not condoning, civilian deaths and extrajudicial killings in Yemen. During George W. Bush's presidency, the rage would have been tremendous, but today there is a little outcry, even though what is happening is in many ways an escalation of Bush's policies.
Yep.
Defenders of human rights must speak out. America's counterterrorism policy here is not only making Yemen less safe by strengthening support for al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, but it could also ultimately endanger the United States and the entire world.
If the United States government wanted to be seen as saviors of these people rather than the killers of them, they should feed them. rather than bomb them, they should be feeding these hungry people because,
or at
as
least
you said,
allowing the food shipments to arrive. Like, you don't have to go out of pocket and just give them food, but don't prevent the food that they're trying to get from arriving.
Well, right. Well, you said that Saudi Arabia was blockading the country. So,
correct.
If they wanted to engender some warm feelings towards the United States, the solution would be to oppose Saudi Arabia's blockade and to, as you say, try to put an end to it. So, but here we are, more bombings, more deaths, more children being killed. What do you think that's going to result in the future? It's going to result in more ISIS members. It's going to result in more Al-Qaeda. And, of course, that's going to then be used as an excuse for more bombings and more invasions. And, of course, Trump, who on one side of his mouth said actually it was right after he was elected, I think, that the United States would enter a new era of peace. He said that at the same time saying that he wanted to continue to persecute terrorism, and you just can't have it both ways.
He recently ordered the Pentagon to come up with a plan to defeat ISIS quickly. And that could mean
more
putting,
bombs.
Well, not just more bombs, but more troops. The whole there's no troops on the ground thing, even though, like Obama's been sending maybe like 100 at a time.
Yep.
Speculation is Trump might want to send between 20 to 30,000.
We will see, and we will keep an eye on things here as best as we can. Of course, we also rely on you guys out there to bring news to us. So if there's something we've missed and you think it's super important, we got wide open phones. You can join us here, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. I know coming up, you've got the story out of the Philippines, Darryl, that we teased at the very beginning of the show. The Filipino Trump, Rodrigo Duterte, who was the elected president. He's been the mayor of one of the cities in the Philippines for many years.
Davao, I think it was.
Davao, yeah. And rose to prominence because, like Donald Trump, he said things that a lot of people were thinking but didn't want to come out and say. Some very unpopular, very unpolitically correct things. But unlike Trump, he went even further than Trump has done and literally called for the murder of the extrajudicial killings of people who were accused of selling and using drugs. And ultimately, that is one of the things that propelled him to victory. Even after coming out and admitting that he wanted to commit rape, he actually said publicly that he wished he could have been first in a massive gang rape at a prison that occurred, that he believed that he should have had first crack because he was the mayor of the city.
Yeah.
He came right out and said that, and his polling numbers went up. He ended up winning the election after that, and inputting the policy of killing people before even a chance at trial. Of course, their prisons are also just loaded up with people. They've got people literally sleeping on stairs in stairwells in this prison because they have no room. So it's just an insane situation with thousands of bodies that piled up by just the end of the year. I haven't gotten an update for this month, but by the end of 2016, there was like 4,000 victims at the very least. If
I heard 6,000.
Yeah, well, it's a lot of bodies that none of which had been given any chance at a trial or any evidence being presented against them. They've just been executed in the streets by both vigilantes and the police. And Duterte promising to give police a pardon, basically. So if
and I speculated that he would, ex post facto deputize anybody that wasn't a police officer that he found had killed somebody.
So that kind of brings you up to speed as briefly as we can on this guy. We're going to get into Duterte here in moments. Let's go to Vernon. He's in Louisiana, listening online. Go ahead, Vernon. You're on Free Talk Live.
I've got two things.
Sure.
Number one, so a few nights ago, Sarah called in, and she said that she considered calling your show volunteer work. And you started to kind of ask her what she meant by that, but then she started with her propaganda or whatever. So the next time she calls, can you all make sure to ask her, exactly where she's getting her topics from? Because it really does sound like she's, getting emailed once a day, hey, call
she doesn't do email.
Whoever and talk about this. It's just the same old, I don't know.
She doesn't do email.
I might be able to do that.
She I don't know how many of the calls of hers that you've heard. She's completely unconnected. I don't know if you can hear us, but we can hear you fine.
Hello.
there might be a disconnection of some sort there at the network. Maybe a button hasn't been pressed appropriately. Not sure what happened there. But anyway, Sarah, he's referring to our pretty much nightly caller. She was on hold earlier, but she dropped off before we could get her on. That she is not an email person. She's never used Google. She has no connection to the internet.
Right.
So,
but she doesn't listen to the show.
No, and she doesn't listen to the show. She does appear to listen to talk radio, and she seems to take notes and then brings up some of the things that she finds exciting when she calls this show. It's Free Talk Live. More coming up.
Worried about lead, fluoride, and other contaminants in your drinking water? Get a ProPure with the Pro 1G 2.0 cleanable reusable filter and remove up to 200 contaminants. Drink water the way nature meant it to be. Clean, crisp, and refreshing. See the complete line of ProPure products, including the new ProMax shower filter. There's a ProPure for you. Visit your authorized ProPure dealer for details or ProPureUSA.com. That's ProPureUSA.com.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. I'm here to tell you about GCNtelecare.com, a team of board-certified doctors assisting you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Within 15 minutes of registration, care your family can afford. Revolutionizing the healthcare industry, virtual consulting providing diagnosis of non-emergency medical issues by phone or secure video on computer or smart mobile devices. GCNtelecare.com, virtual care anywhere.
The Shire Free Church offers a sanctuary to those seeking an escape from state churches.
The Shire Free Church is an interfaith, diverse group of people that may not share identical theological beliefs. As a member in or minister of the Shire Free Church, you are a sovereign individual and may be the faith of your choice.
We don't claim to have all of the answers.
We are open to all peaceful people.
We want to learn from each other.
What unifies the Shire Free Church and its diverse members is peace,
love,
and liberty. There are many paths to God, one for every individual.
The Shire Free Church does not define a specific path beyond those parameters that must be your foundation.
Peace as your way,
love as your guide,
and liberty as your light.
Learn more at church.shiresociety.com.
That's church.shiresociety.com. What do you shop for that you could otherwise buy at Amazon? Pretty much everything, right? Amazon has competitive pricing and they deliver, and that's a big plus. If you could plan ahead in your shopping, would you be interested in saving up to 33%? There's a catch. You have to do your shopping in Bitcoin, but imagine those savings. It's like a huge raise. All you have to do is go to saveitpurse.com. We've saved thousands, and you can too. Plan ahead and save. Saveitpurse.com.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate us 5 stars, then share the link on your social media and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free at apps.lrn.fm.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit shiresociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, add yourself to the Shire map at shiresociety.com. That's shiresociety.com.
While our satellite channel is free to listen to, it's not free for us. You can help us cover our satellite costs with the chip-in on the right side of the page at lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live. Join us here. Toll-free number, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We do have Skype, and the Skype username's LRN.FM. You can join us online over at freetalklive.com. Enjoy the features there. And don't forget, you can save big time by shopping with Purse. You go to saveatpurse.com, saveatpurse.com. You can save up to 33%. And Darryl, you just requested 30% off a recent item that you purchased, or that you didn't purchase. Somebody purchased for you. You get 30% off. Amazon gets the full amount they were requesting, and the person who did the purchasing gets some of your Bitcoin.
Yes.
So the key is, in order to get tremendous discounts, up to 30-something% over at saveatpurse.com, you do have to have Bitcoin. That is the one requirement here. The other one is that you add stuff to your shopping list or your wish list over at Amazon, and then you import that wish list over at saveatpurse.com. You select the discount you want. Usually, higher discounts take a little longer to fulfill, but not always. In your case, 30% off, you got that within just a couple hours.
Just barely over an hour. I also had...
I would say that's unusually fast.
People should unusually fast.
They should not expect that kind of speed. But
I also picked up a couple other shipments today. One that I got, I believe it was 27%, and the other one I did an instant buy, so it was 5%.
You were in a hurry, obviously, on that one.
Yes.
So it's awesome. SaveAtPurse.com. It works. It works well. That's why I've used it for more than 2 years and pretty much bought everything that I've bought from Amazon through Save at Purse, SaveAtPurse.com. So go there and do that. Let's go to Vernon, who had some difficulties hearing us. I'm presuming it was a bad cell phone connection because your call ended up dropping. Vernon, can you hear us now?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay, good.
I didn't hear what you said about Sarah.
You'd called in about Sarah in New Mexico.
Well, I called in about that in Bill Weld. So.
Well, let's talk about Bill Weld here in a moment, because Sarah just so happened to call in. Now, I don't know if it's because she's
more
actually
interesting.
I don't know if I don't know if it's because she's actually listening to the show for once. Sarah, did you know you were being talked about? Were your ears burning?
No, I just called in to talk about our texting and talking on cell phone is only $12. Only $25 in Albuquerque. I just called in a minute ago.
I don't understand what you just said. Texting is $25?
If you get a ticket for texting while driving, it's only $25.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, in Albuquerque. So don't you guys all want to come down here and move here? You guys are talking drive. Every other driver is talking on their cell phone.
No, because see, here in New Hampshire, there's actually a bill in the State House to repeal that law.
Yeah, but what are the odds that's going to pass?
Not very good,
Pretty
but
slim.
I'd rather them repeal it than charge me $25 for it.
Yeah. Sarah, we got Vernon on the line here. He actually had a question for you. Vernon, you're on with Sarah. Go ahead.
Sarah, what organization, you called the other night claiming that you're doing volunteer work whenever you call this radio station, quote unquote. I was wondering what organization you're doing that volunteer work through, and where do you get your topics that you want to call into? It sounds like you're getting your propaganda from some sort of organization, I'm just curious, where exactly you're getting that from.
Well, the thing is that I'm doing volunteer work where
I can't hear anybody if you can hear me.
Okay, well, I don't know why that would be.
I can hear you now. I can hear you now.
Okay.
Well,
ahead, Sarah.
but my volunteer works from what I feel is necessary, I'm against children.
You're not answering the question. What organization are you doing your volunteer work through?
I have no organization, but a lot of my communist ideas come from Communist Parties of America, believe it or not. And
okay, so you're not on any sort of mailing list or anything that tells you, hey, call into your local representative or call into your local radio show and talk about this or that.
Well, no, I have no organization. I do this on my own. I'm for helping the homeless people in Albuquerque. And I think all the things you talk about really are just about driving and accidents in the Albuquerque region, and it's just I was just curious if I don't know. Okay, well
that's not all that she talks about. She's talked about communist stuff as well. So that's what I thought. I believed Sarah when she told me that. I didn't think that she was working for anybody, but I can understand why you would think that, Vernon. I mean, there are organizations who do send out notices, like the Parents Television Association or whatever they're called.
Yep.
I don't think that's the name of it, but you know what I'm talking about.
The
Parents
Council.
Television Council, that's what it is, where they will send out notices about, oh, this is a bad show, you need to call and complain about it. But I think Sarah truly
but
is.
her stuff just sounds like, it really does sound like propaganda. Like it really does. Like it's like she's reading a script or something. It's crazy.
I've never gotten that. I've never gotten that impression from Sarah. She's always seemed to be sincere. And very interested in the things that she is discussing here. So Vernon, I'm gonna put you on hold. We're gonna come back to you because I know you had another point that you wanted to make. But go ahead, Sarah.
So, for example, I wanted to let people know that cholesterol and fat is actually good for us because the doctors are paid to lie. So it's a good thing that I want to put that out. That when you get
now, you do realize that doctors don't all agree, right? Like there are doctors who disagree with some other doctors, and they will argue about stuff that they disagree on. So, like fat and cholesterol, and all these food-related factors have been disagreed on for many, many decades.
That's correct, but you know what? They need to lose their license because they're giving out wrong information. Salt is good for us. Cholesterol is necessary for our brain.
Well,
and then,
all things in moderation, Sarah. It is certainly true that salt is good in that iodized salt, for instance, will keep you from what is it? There's like it's not diarrhea, is it? It's something else that's like a killer around the world, and I'm forgetting what it is. But the iodine in the salt actually protects you from that. If you don't get iodized salt,
and salt is also good for preserving food.
Right. So a little bit of salt certainly isn't a bad thing.
Of course, not all doctors agree because, it was only just a few decades ago that only 4 out of 5 physicians preferred camels.
The thing about it is that I want to expose that they, on purpose, these people with credentials are giving out wrong information to make people ill so they could profit off of it.
Well,
that's one of
it's
my
not always
motives
on
that
purpose. Sometimes they are given bad information and then they just wind up repeating it because doctors don't necessarily have the time to go do all of their own scientific studies to figure out what's right. They can only go based off of the things that have been peer reviewed, and we can talk about how horrible the peer review process is at another time, but the physicians themselves and the general practitioner doctors, they're not doing their own scientific studies to figure out if salt is good or fat is bad or butter is better than margarine or whatnot.
And the last thing you want to do, Sarah, is give people, some select board of people, the ability to determine what is or is not true about science, and then to pull licenses because somebody else might disagree with their
that's
opinion.
part of the peer review process, to where you've got some board that determines what they will and will not publish in the Journal of American Medicine. And then anything that's not published there, people, that's just quackery because that wasn't published in this thing because it wasn't peer reviewed.
Now, of course, one of the problems with licenses in general is it gives people who, think they know better than you the ability to make decisions about whether you can live or die as far as the business that you want to run, in this case, the business of helping sick people.
And the whole thing around licensing doctors was started by the American Medical Association because they wanted to make sure that certain types of practices could not be done. Chiropractics were flat out prohibited in some states because of medical licensing.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff that the FDA suppresses, like natural remedies and things like that. You can't make claims, for instance, about natural remedies actually working to cure things. It's just ridiculous.
Vitamin C treats scurvy.
And by the way, I did look it up. Apologies, I'm not into medicine deeply. Iodine deficiencies can lead to enlarged thyroid, so goiter, basically. So if you don't get iodine in your diet through iodized salts, then you have a much larger chance of something like that happening to you. And that happens around the world quite a bit. Hey, thanks, Sarah, for the call tonight. Yeah, the doctors are definitely ensconced in power because of the AMA monopoly that we're talking about here, or oligopoly, or whatever you want to call it. And that's a problem. We need to have more free market health care, and that would include the ability for people to choose who provides them service, whether they're licensed or not.
A funny thing happens when you don't advertise. Nothing. Modern advertisers have been trained to look for trackability in their advertising, and web search ads are great for that. They also help you get the consumer that's looking for products like yours in the moment. But they're expensive, and they do nothing to convince people to try your product segment in the first place. If you're a local advertiser, contact this station. If you can use national exposure, Free Talk Live's on more than 150 stations, and we can help advertisers with little budgets and big ones. Send me an email, mark@freetalklive.com. It's mark@freetalklive.com.
Do you need a website for your blog or new business? It can be pretty intimidating on your own, and that's why Free Talk Live has partnered with HostGator, one of the top hosting companies. HostGator offers a simple one-click, easy installation for WordPress, 24/7 over the phone or live chat tech support, and a very intuitive, user-friendly control panel that puts the power of creation back into your hands. Go to HostGator.com/FTL and you'll get 50% off of their regular hosting prices. 50% off. HostGator.com/FTL.
Hi, I'm Dr. Joel Wallach, the Dead Doctors Don't Lie guy. And there's no reason why you shouldn't live to be at least 100 and have a great time getting there. And I'm going to give you a free copy of my lecture that tells you exactly how to do it. In fact, after you've lived a long and healthy life, there should be only 2 documents in your medical chart, a birth certificate and a death certificate. I'm Dr. Wallach with a warning. If you have a 4-inch medical chart, if you take prescription drugs for high cholesterol, high blood pressure, arthritis, joint pains, and other health issues, the medical profession is failing you. They're using you for an ATM machine. My free lecture is going to reveal what pharmaceutical companies don't want you to know. There's been groundbreaking research and discoveries on how to effectively treat or eliminate over 900 different diseases naturally, and it's all in my free lecture called Deadly Recipe. So call toll-free 1-855-79-YOUNG. Again, that's toll-free 1-855-79-YOUNG. 1-855-79-YOUNG.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market. Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project early movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. You may already know about the Free Talk Live audio-on-demand phone line at 641-793-9660. Did you know that not only can you listen to Free Talk Live via your phone, you can also leave a message and have it delivered to Free Talk Live's hosts? To leave us your thoughts, just dial 641-793-9660. That's 641-793-9660. Press 2 for Free Talk Live, and then hit 0 to leave your message.
This is your Roberts & Roberts Brokerage Daily Precious Metals Update. In early trading Monday, gold is $4 higher at $1,196 per ounce, and silver is 9 cents higher at $17.28 per ounce. Bitcoin is currently trading at $919 US, with silver still well under $20, and the silver to gold ratio at 70-1. It's a great time to buy silver. Roberts & Roberts Brokerage, assisting precious metal investors for over 40 years. 800-874-9760, or visit us online at rrbi.co.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. Dial in toll free and take control of the airwaves here. Our number 855-450-FREE. Only moments remaining here, but enough time for you. If you call in right now, with you tonight, it's Ian
and Darryl.
Don't forget to check out more of Darryl at libertylobby.info. Videos are up on, at the very least, the Free Keen channel, but I didn't get them up until late last night, so I'm not sure if you've had a chance to do anything with
They're
them.
up.
You did do it, okay. So libertylobby.info is your website, Darryl, that is cataloging your efforts to lobby for freedom in Concord,
Yes.
New Hampshire.
And what I've been doing now that there have been some executive sessions, I'm actually going back of the bills that I've previously testified on. I'm putting, here's what the committee has recommended.
Oh, cool.
Recommended. Here's the date that it's going before the full House. And I'll be keeping track of that so that people can
It's hard to follow that stuff normally. You have to have like special access to certain websites that'll, give you heads ups, and you have to subscribe to certain bills, and it really requires somebody to take a lot of time to follow along with this.
There's definitely some digging, yes.
So you're making it easier for people who want to track the progress of certain bills to do that. So one of the many features that you get if you're a supporter, or even if you just want to go look at libertylobby.info, but you are still accepting monetary support and monthly subscriptions.
Yes. Right now I'm at about 63% of the monthly goal. So, definitely could use some support. But, I'm not broke.
Yeah.
I'll say that.
You're covering the gas.
Covering the gas.
To get up
there. Covering a meal.
Or two. And because I know I've donated some gas to the project as well, and I've been donating some time, going up, recording video, and we're going up tomorrow and
going
up Wednesday.
So basically Tuesdays and Wednesdays through.
Yeah, basically we get nothing else
mid-April.
done. Like we can't do anything else productive on Tuesdays and Wednesdays now due to the action in
And
Congress.
then Thursday is largely playing catch up on emails and other things over the last couple of days, and then preparing for the next week.
And this is week number 4 that we're entering into right now.
Correct.
So if you want to check out some full videos, I know you've been putting clips of yourself up on libertylobby.info, full videos of full hearings, including a Bitcoin bill, including, a possible legalization for home distillation of liquor.
Yes.
That's a couple of them that I put up there, and also a monopoly for the state on cannabis. That was another one that I recorded the full hearing of, and I testified at those hearings as well. All those videos are up on the Free Keen YouTube channel. You can check those out at your leisure. And our very own Heather Mullins, who is here on Thursday nights, has turned into a media darling here in New Hampshire. She just showed up at the State House last week, testified on a cannabis bill, which you and I were like, we're not going to go to. We're too busy with all these other things that no one pays attention to.
Right.
And luckily she went in there because, if you got more liberty activists, you can go into different hearings.
Correct.
She testified on a medical cannabis bill that would expand access to medical cannabis.
It wasn't just one. They were hearing 5
Multiple
bills.
Right.
And I wasn't there, but when I saw that the start times were 3 minutes apart, I said, probably what they're going to do is have the sponsor introduce the bill and then just take public testimony
on all of them
simultaneously.
Right, because most people are going to either support them all or oppose them all, and if they don't, they'll make it clear. So she gave her testimony, and mainstream media was in the room covering the hearings, and they saw, there's an attractive young lady. Let's put her up in front of a camera. So they did, and she got interviewed by the union leader as well, and I put it out there as an example of just how easy it is to be a kind of a big fish in the small pond of politics in New Hampshire. Heather has been here for, 2 months or something like that? 3, maybe?
Barely.
And, she's just gotten involved over in Concord. She never really had the opportunity to do this stuff when she was a libertarian activist in Massachusetts, and nor would you have the same opportunities down there. But up here, you got all kinds of opportunities, and all you really have to do to make a difference and have an impact is show up. You just have to show up and participate in the process.
As they say, showing up is 90%.
It's certainly true. So let's go back to Vernon, who has been waiting patiently. You had wanted to talk to Sarah, and you got your wish, and then you had a second topic, so I wanted you to hang if you wanted to get to that. So go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, so the other day I was listening, and I think it was you that said, okay, well, Libertarian Party, they're not too bad now. We'll give them a chance. And then today I'm listening to an interview with Bill Wells. And I'm not a libertarian, like I'm not a hardcore libertarian or anything. I don't know, terribly much about the party. But, the host kept asking him questions about his libertarian leanings, and he kept saying that Trump is now the best president ever. Trump is amazing.
Wow.
And he's just doing all the right things and this and that. And then I'm thinking in my
I'm glad I don't have a full
Israel
stomach
lost his
because it would just all come up hearing this.
I guess he's taking his libertarian hat off, huh, Darryl?
I don't know if the man ever had a libertarian hat, but Gary Johnson said he was the original libertarian. You want to know the difference between Bill Weld and Sarah in Albuquerque? Sarah doesn't claim to be a libertarian.
Go ahead, Vernon. What else?
Yeah, you just got to be careful about re-embracing the Libertarian Party with that kind of talk going on.
Well, I got to clarify. I have not re-embraced the Libertarian Party. They did advertise here on Free Talk Live, and I personally, what I had said on the air was, if you want to have an effect, you can have a free membership.
No, I think what you had said just a couple days ago is that you are reluctantly supporting the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire,
not the National Libertarian Party. And I tried to make that clear in the press release. In fact, if you were to go to nhliberty.info, the website of the Liberty Party here in New Hampshire, where Conan and I put our press release up, it specifically excoriates the National Libertarian Party and makes it clear that this is not to be misconstrued or believed to be in any way an endorsement of the National Libertarian Party. Those people have been unprincipled for a long time. And the New Hampshire Liberty Party is endorsing the current direction of the New Hampshire Libertarian Party because the current direction of the New Hampshire Libertarian Party is one that is in a direction towards principle, in a direction towards supporting secession, and those are two things that are very important to us at the New Hampshire Liberty Party. And being active. Right, and actually doing stuff. Yeah, that helps too. So sorry for any
New
confusion.
Hampshire all the time. Like what? I think isn't this a national radio show? So in Louisiana, I don't know. That's another question I've always had is why do y'all talk about New Hampshire all the time when this is supposed to be a national radio show? And I live, 2,000 miles away, and I'm probably never going to go to New Hampshire.
Well, that's too bad.
Curious.
The reason why we talk about New Hampshire is because there's exciting stuff happening up here, and if there were exciting things happening in Louisiana, I'd want to hear about that too. I've actually bemoaned the fact that we don't have more libertarians calling in about all the cool libertarian activism happening around the country. What is going on out there? I know there's stuff happening.
That's a good angle, and seriously, I'm just being honest with you as a listener. Sometimes I just want to tune out when y'all start droning on about going to the New Hampshire, this and that and whatever. I mean, I don't care. I mean, I'm just being honest.
That's fine, man. This show ain't for everybody. Have a good night. Toll-free number, 855-450-FREE. Look, I'm excited about the activism happening here in New Hampshire, and I want to promote it because I want libertarians to move here. Now, not everybody is interested in, being around the largest concentration of voluntarists and libertarians known to man, but if you are interested in what that would mean, then we are a window into that world. We are,
and I forget if it's you or Mark, or it could be both, that have described Free Talk Live kind of as a reality show.
I've described it that way.
About the host.
Right, because we do stuff, unlike most talk show hosts who show up, flip a microphone on for 3 hours, and then, go
They've
away.
Got people that do their show prep. We do our own show prep.
Right, they got people that put their archives online. We do our own,
They've got people that call radio stations and talk to program directors and voicemail boxes.
Right. And we also do activism. So, when Darryl and I are going up to the State House, we're testifying. We're speaking out in favor of liberty on these various different issues. I've done civil disobedience. Darryl, you've gone to jail for not paying a fine to a court, for instance, for a traffic ticket. And so we find all of these things to be interesting stories because, well, they're our lives. And a lot of talk show hosts talk about their lives. It's just the boring crap of, my wife and I went to the movies this weekend, or, and then they talk about the movie that they saw, or whatever. Or, I'm in favor of this sporting team, or
Speaking of, what's the last movie you went to go see in the theater?
Star Wars, the newer one. The one from December.
Okay, the Rogue One?
Rogue One.
Okay.
Yeah. And, every now and then we'll talk about the pop culture stuff, too. But
last movie I saw was Snowden.
Right. One of the things that makes this show unique from other talk shows, besides the political perspective on here, is the fact that we're actually activists and we actually put our own freedom on the line and our own money on the line to stand up for what we believe in. And if you don't like to hear it, well, you can call in and bring up anything you want. That's why we call it Free Talk Live. See you tomorrow.
Does this ever happen to you? Moments after you're introduced to someone, you forget his or her name. It's a common faux pas you'll want to avoid, especially if you're a job seeker. And even if you're not, here's a tip. As you are being introduced, and while you're still shaking hands, smiling, and making eye contact, say the person's name aloud. Not only does that make a deposit in your memory bank, it acknowledges the other person. And that is more than a nuance, as is maintaining eye contact. With money and attention so scarce now, effective communication skills have never been more important. Cutting through the clutter rather than blending into the blah, blah, blah will help you connect better no matter what the conversation. For more tips, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and one with just the Edgington Post. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
Free Press Publications is an independent, alternative media and publishing company founded in June 2009 with the mission of ensuring a free press for the freedom movement and is committed to spreading the message of peace, freedom, love, and liberty. FPP also gives new authors an avenue for publishing freedom-oriented material. FPP brings you daily news and commentary on the website fpp.cc, as well as a daily 5-minute newscast, FPP Radio News, and weekly news, views, and commentary in the FPP Freedom Minute and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio at fppradio.com, and the monthly newspaper FPP News at news.fpp.cc. Find FPP online at fpp.cc. That's fpp.cc, as in Creative Commons.
For years, LRN.FM has had a listen line that you can call and listen to LRN.FM anytime. Now we're taking the idea to a new level with the LRN.FM audio on-demand line. You can call 641-793-9660 anytime and listen to LRN.FM's live feed, and you can listen to a bunch of our original shows on demand. Long-distance fees may apply. Just dial 641-793-9660 and choose from the menu 641-793-9660.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM. The latest edition of We Are Libertarians is next on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM. Get more at WeAreLibertarians.com.
You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Learn more at WeAreLibertarians.com.
The Johnny Rocket Launchpad is Liberty. Each week we strive to bring you the best guests in talk radio. The Johnny Rocket Launchpad delivers weekly interviews of noteworthy politicians, experts, and activists. The Johnny Rocket Launchpad is bringing the party to the Libertarian Party and launching ideas in your direction. Check us out at johnnyrocketlaunchpad.com. You can hear me, Kurt Nelson, and the beautiful Heather Nixon talk about the ideas of liberty. Rock and roll.
Hey there, Liberty lovers. This is Mark Claire of the Lions of Liberty podcast, where we strive to bring you great conversations about the ideas of liberty 3 days a week, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Check us out at lionsofliberty.com.
Hey guys, this is Roger Paxton, and if you're fed up with the government running every single aspect of your life, but you're not listening to the Lava Flow podcast yet, then what's wrong with you? Check us out at thelavaflow.com, or just go back to sucking up to the government. The Lava Flow podcast, striking the root every single episode.
We are supported by listeners like you. Donate per month or make a one-time donation through PayPal or Patreon at wearelibertarians.com.
Children just fall out of there.
Welcome to We Are Libertarians. I'm your host, Chris Spangle. We Are Libertarians brings you all of the irreverence modern politics deserves. We explain to you what the hell is happening in our world today and how we can fix it by thinking differently. This is a podcast brought to you by the We Are Libertarians Network. Please be sure to rate and review us on iTunes, like us on Facebook, share this episode with friends, and support us through PayPal or Patreon at wearelibertarians.com. We are supported by listeners like you, so $1 per episode by pledging $5 a month helps us grow. And we are always taking your questions and comments via email at editor@wearelibertarians.com or hit up wearelibertarians.com, and on the sidebar you can find our personal Facebook and Twitter pages and profiles, and you can become friends with Greg and I. Greg,
let's not advocate for friends. Let's say acquaintances.
Friends. You can
Liberty acquaintances.
Right. We'll look at your message.
I don't want to get personal. I don't want to hear about your sorrow.
Yeah. There's a lot of messages coming in. This program is getting very big, Greg.
See, as I've become pro-Trump, I haven't had any. So people think I really like Trump. I just don't want to hear about your sorrow tales.
Right.
It's working.
Who's that?
That is the lovely. This is easily the most attractive person. Definitely the most attractive female.
Without doubt.
The beautiful Miranda Barnett is with us. Is it Barnett or Barnett? How do you say your name?
Barnett.
Barnett.
Barnett. Okay, yeah. I thought I had it right. Miranda is a stand-up comedian here in town, and she's hilarious. You should follow her on Facebook.
Unless you are a Christian libertarian or someone that is very... if you worry about what other people think, it's not going to be your brand of vodka.
See, Miranda fits in. Miranda is the perfect female. She is. You have a new title. You are now the official female correspondent for Weird Libertarians.
I'll take it.
The pay is huge.
And you're also in charge of mail outreach for Weird Libertarians.
Does that involve stamps?
Don't do it.
No. No, you're just...
Oh, mail is in men. Okay.
Yes.
I got so scared. I was like, dude, I hate dealing with mail.
Do mail.
I really do. I don't even check it very often. Okay.
No,
do you answer cell phone calls from numbers you don't recognize?
You know what? No, because I've learned it's never anyone you want to talk to.
Yeah, it's always...
You always think, that could be... It never is.
Never.
Yeah, it's Jerry's kids wanting another donation.
So Miranda is a libertarian. You're a libertarian, right?
Yeah, I am. I kind of just go with issues on things. Sometimes I can be a little more conservative than maybe your most extreme libertarians. But I'm also a control freak.
So you're a perfect libertarian.
I think only I should have the control. Yeah. So that isn't a libertarian.
That's exactly it.
We're all libertarian dictators.
That is.
Miranda has not been on the podcast yet. We talked about doing a podcast together. We've talked about having her on, and we finally got her here, and I'm so excited because Miranda has been around all year long in our friend circle on Facebook and come to Facebook and to the Morty's Live events. A great supporter of this program, shares our stuff. She is a fantastic friend of this program, and I am deeply excited to have her here tonight. So we're talking about the women's marches.
I have my hand on his penis right now.
Oh,
that's why he's saying those kind things.
Miranda is... Did I mention how attractive she is?
Keep going.
I am...
Tell the listeners.
Highly turgid.
Right now, there are probably 1,200 people with a boner.
Now you see why I've appointed her as mail outreach director.
I know, but do we really need more men?
We need more people.
Men, women, bring me your sick and your poor.
Honestly,
I'll just take
you're like
them all.
Jesus.
That's right.
Honestly, you get one look at Miranda and you're like, Yeah, I'm a woman. I'm into it.
That's not what you said. You said you look tired. That was that was one of the first words out of your mouth.
He was negging me, and it worked. My hand's on his penis right now.
Right.
Peacocking.
I was like, geez, you're getting a little chubby.
You know, you're about a 7 right now, but you could be a 10.
You could be a 10, Miranda, if you really tried hard enough. No, Miranda,
bulimia and some sun.
Fat shaming.
She's cutting right now, and I asked, how are you getting so thin? And she's like, I just drink lemon water all day. I don't eat. I'm like, well, I don't want to.
She did bring lemon water and basic white girl Starbucks.
She did.
5-shot espresso, Americano,
nice.
and
You're gonna be 5 shots of espresso?
Yeah, in my.
I do black eyes, and I thought I don't do black.